Synopsis. It's about a guy who transmigrates into Bruce Wayne's body after the original gets killed along with his parents. Now, the only way he can survive is to be what the original would have been one day and more. He would have to be the best Bruce Wayne if he even wants a chance to survive in this dark world full of danger. The only cheat he has to make all this possible is intuitive intelligence, an ability of his favorite Marvel mutant character, Forge. But is it truly all there is to his power? Will he be able to survive with it? Will he be an overpowered character or get killed way before he realizes his potential? Will he become the strongest being in DC, or will he die trying? Listen on to know. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Omni-sensei here with What If I Was Reborn in DC as Bruce Wayne? The Strongest Batman. Part 1. If you enjoy this type of content, please furiously deliver thorough justice to the like button. For Gotham. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Remember to check out the original story linked in the description. Let's get into the rise of the strongest Batman in history without further ado. Things always get worse before they get better. Alfred Pennyworth, Batman Trilogy. Oh bastard, it hurts. God, somebody just freaking shoot me and get this damn pain over with. A young boy of about 8 or 10 years old suddenly began screaming in pain after he woke up in what seemed like a very luxurious hospital bed. The boy was confused. He wasn't feeling any sort of pain before he went to sleep, but just after he woke up, he felt like he was in hell. His body was weak and tired, but his stomach especially hurt a lot, like somebody had made a freaking hole in it. But within just a few seconds of him yelling toxic words which were not at all appropriate for a young boy like him, a team of doctors suddenly rushed into the room with serious faces, looking like their lives and careers were on the line. "Mr. Wayne, are you all right? Please calm down. We will help you relieve your pain. Susan, give me a midazolam injection, a 2 milligrams dose. We cannot have him displaying high levels of anxiety just after the huge surgery he went through. He might even go into a seizure at this rate." The doctor, who seemed to be the leader of the team, spoke in an urgent tone. "What do you mean by Wayne, you bastard? I am Alex Vincent. And what do you mean, surgery? Did you guys cut out and steal my kidney or something? God, I'll freaking sue you all." The kid continued to yell in his foul language till someone injected a syringe into his hand, at which he felt like his nerves became calmer and his spiking heart rate seemed to drop to normal. The kid still tried to free himself from the evil doctors who had most probably kidnapped him in his mind, but he was quickly losing his consciousness. All he heard before he again passed out into the darkness was the doctor saying something like, "Give him some pain meds. Let's make sure the kid is alright after he wakes up again. I really like my current job. If the Prince of Gotham dies under our watch, we will never be able to treat another single patient ever again." Gotham? Wayne? Are these psycho doctors some DC fans or something? Did they kidnap me because I posted on my blog that Batman only wins due to plot armor? Because if that's the case, then I still stand by my point. That was the last thought before he completely lost his consciousness once again. All he hoped that by the time he wakes up again, he would be in a much better and safer place like his soft bed and not some hospital bed surrounded by psycho doctors. It was about a few hours later that he again began to form some coherent thoughts in his mind. He wasn't feeling pain this time, at least not as much as he was feeling the first time he woke up. But this time he could hear the sound of someone silently weeping. As the young kid weakly opened his eyes, he saw a good-looking adult man with silver-white hair dressed in a butler uniform sitting beside his bed, hiding his own face with his left hand as silent tears seemed to roll down his cheeks. The boy couldn't speak well due to his throat being parched and dehydrated from his previous shouting and not drinking water for a long time. "Master Bruce, you are awake again. I am sorry I was not here the first time you woke up. It seems I have been repeatedly failing in my duty recently." The man straightened up immediately and spoke up in an English accent after he heard the boy and quickly hid away his previous trail of tears on his face like they were never there. "What?" The young boy, who was presumably named Bruce, spoke up in his same dry voice in a questioning tone. "Oh, here's some water." The butler immediately brought a glass of water after filling it up from a nearby jug in the room and offered it to Bruce. I know this is a difficult time for you, Master Bruce, both physically and mentally. But I just want you to know that I am there for you, and I'll make sure that you never get hurt, ever again. The butler said in a determined voice. But Bruce at this time wasn't at all listening to the man. He wasn't in a state to calmly listen to him because while drinking water and preparing himself for another new session of severe cursing at the butler, he had finally noticed his own reflection on the screen of the TV in front of him. What looked back at him through the reflection wasn't at all the ordinary teenager he was expecting, but the appearance of a barely 10-year-old young boy with black hair and blue eyes. Although he wanted to curse a lot, and maybe even beat someone at this point, but he was just too goddamn tired and in too much of a shock. He was trying to figure out how the hell did he become a child again. And not only did he become a child, but he transformed into a child that he had never seen before, lying in a hospital with a butler at his side. He remembered that his first name was Bruce as he was called by the English butler, and that his last name was supposed to be Wayne. His name was Bruce Wayne. He was in a hospital in a city named Gotham. He was addressed as master by an English butler, and according to the doctors he was supposed to be rich. Shit. Alfred. Bruce called his butler, trying to test out his theory, praying in his mind that he was wrong. But sadly for him he wasn't. Yes, Mater Bruce. Do you need something? Can I get you another glass of water? Alfred, the butler spoke up in a concerned tone. Shit. I am Bruce Wayne and I am in the freaking DC world. Bruce thought as he felt like puking after remembering the thousands of horror that he might have to suffer as the Prince of Gotham. The Penguin, Joker, Riddler, a lot of crazy criminal ladies, my evil variants, interdimensional entities, a possibly messed up Kryptonian with an obsession with justice, demons, evil gods and so much more were just waiting out there to F me up. Bruce gulped. Oh, how he wished he could go to any other world besides DC. Even Marvel, although with a similar power structure and cosmology, was better to live in than the absolute shitery of a world that DC was. And I had to transmigrate into Bruce Wayne's body, didn't I? Now I can't even hide or run away or something since there are at least a dozen factions and criminal organizations who either have a personal vendetta with the Wayne family or the Wayne Corporation, or just want to get their hands on my sweet innocent self to free some interdimensional demonic god by sacrificing me. Bruce sadly thought as he slowly lost his hope. Master Bruce, I am sorry to do this to you right now, but the police are here. They want to ask some questions about your parents' deaths. Should I tell them to come back later? Alfred asked Bruce in a caring voice after a nurse entered the room and whispered something into the butler's ears. Yeah, that would be the best. Right now, I don't even remember everything that happened. It's all a mess. I don't think I can tell the police anything in this condition. Maybe ask them to visit me after we go back home. Bruce tried to tea his way out of giving a statement to the police. Don't worry, Master Bruce, I'll take care of it. You just take some rest and focus on getting better. Alfred said in a sympathetic voice as he left to meet up with the cops outside, not at all suspecting Bruce's lack of sadness in his voice. He just attributed it all to the shock of his parents' deaths. Shit, I need to figure out something quick. As much as I remember, the death of the Wayne couple was supposed to be orchestrated by the Court of Owls, a secret society that not only controlled the entirety of Gotham, but even had influence and perhaps even control of his own company, Wayne International. Bruce thought to himself as he tried to figure out a way to save himself from the terrible future that awaited him if he couldn't master the same skills and abilities that the original Bruce Wayne mastered. He was particularly sad to the point that he didn't even feel a little bit smarter or stronger after his transmigration. He wished he had at least gotten Bruce Wayne's IQ, but he was having trouble to even remembering stuff that he had read in the comics in his previous life accurately, so he knew that he didn't have anything even remotely resembling Bruce Wayne's supposedly genius intellect. How am I going to survive in this world? Presence, Lucifer or whatever Rob who had transmigrated me or whoever the hell is listening. Please at least give a freaking cheat for me to survive. He prayed to anyone who was listening desperately. Do you want to wear the black suit or the beige one, Master Bruce? I do recommend the black one since it will go well with your skin tone. Alfred was holding two suits in his hands, while comparing which one would look better on Bruce. I'll take the black one then. It would suit well with the dark and grim theme of Gotham. Bruce replied in a monotone voice, at which Alfred just sighed. Bruce was at last being released from the hospital after spending about another 3 days in there. The medical authorities actually wanted to keep him under observation for another week, but Bruce with his current disturbed mentality didn't want to spend another moment here, and thus made Alfred pressurize the hospital board to give him an early discharge. He knew that for every second he spent here, the chances of people discovering that something was wrong with him was increasing. This was mostly because despite being transmigrated inside the original Bruce Wayne's body, he had neither inherited his full memories nor his personality. Well, perhaps he might have inherited some muscle memories or some deeply ingrained emotions from the old Bruce, since he did feel relaxed after seeing Alfred near him every time, but nothing above that. He was lucky that the original Bruce suffered so much before his death, since it was the reason that he could just give the excuse of trauma to everyone to explain his present change in attitude from the old one. But he didn't want to be near a lot of people and risk them suspecting something about him, especially since the doctors and nurses were keeping a 24-hour watch on him due to him being a VIP. In fact, a lot of people, including the press, politicians, businessmen, and everyone else who called themselves family friends, had tried to visit him to get into his good books. Of course, Bruce denied all of them for now. He didn't want to meet anybody without any information about them and himself and his family first. After Alfred signed the documents and completed the formalities on behalf of Bruce, they boarded their Rolls-Royce parked in the front while avoiding the paparazzi trying to get a sad photo of Bruce's face for the next day's front page. Alfred had already been given the legal guardianship of Bruce. Though there were a lot of people trying to prevent that from happening, as well as people who wanted to adopt Bruce themselves due to being caring towards the child, Alfred didn't face any hiccups, especially since the late Wayne couple had mentioned in their will that if something were to happen to them, Alfred would be the first in line to get his legal guardianship. The paparazzi are the biggest gangsters of this town, I tell you. They are the devil incarnate. Alfred said in anger as he closed the door to the car. No, they aren't. The devil is much more fun. Bruce muttered to himself as he looked outside the moving car and gazed at the worn-down condition of the city. The Wayne mansion was only about a 15-minute drive from the hospital, but in that short time Bruce saw about 5 drug deals on the streets, half a dozen different mugging incidents, and about a dozen hookers trying to sell themselves in broad daylight. He was sure that he even heard a few gunshots on the way. The condition of the city really was bad. As they reached the gates of the mansion, Bruce's heart began to speed up. He knew that it was probably the leftover emotions of the old Bruce. But he himself was surprised at how luxurious and big the Wayne mansion was. The word mansion was probably downplaying it. It could even be called a palace. That's how big and luxurious it looked. Bruce knew that he had severely underestimated the wealth of the Waynes. Perhaps the family was even richer than what Batman liked to show. Please, Master Bruce, after you. Alfred opened the car's door for him as he gestured towards the entrance of the house. Thank you, Bruce said. He had been trying to act all noble and courteous recently to imitate the role of a broody billionaire orphan well. He thought he was doing a really good job. As Bruce entered into his new home followed by Alfred, he was sure of one thing: he was filthy rich indeed. The large living room in the mansion was decorated by what looked like priceless antiques. From a piano to a standing knight in armor, it had it all. Do you want me to take you to your room, Master Bruce, or do you want to get a bath first? I can even fix up some food as well if you are hungry. Perhaps some garlic bread and scrambled eggs. Alfred asked courteously. Although Bruce had a literal chill run through his body after hearing the line about taking a bath from the butler, he still controlled himself from replying with no homo. He just coughed lightly and told Alfred to take him to his new room first, especially since Bruce didn't even remember where his old room was and he definitely didn't want to search the huge mansion to find out. Fine, Master Bruce, but you are going to have some dinner later. You need to eat to heal up quickly, Alfred said as he looked directly into Bruce's eyes to get his point across. Bruce, of course, was quite amused. He had always thought that Alfred was a gentle person. He had no idea that the English butler could be strict as well when he needed to be. He just nodded with a small smile on his face and followed Alfred, who was himself pleased from Bruce's answer and thus smiling as well. After they came in front of a large door on the second floor, Alfred opened the door for Bruce and gestured for him to enter. As Bruce entered his room, he got the same luxurious old money feeling he got from the rest of the house. There was a queen-sized bed in the massive room, multiple wardrobes, a fireplace, and even a work desk, as well as a large bookshelf. He even noticed 2 more doors in his room, which he assumed to be the doors to a balcony and an attached toilet. It is as you left it, Master Bruce. I didn't let the maids make a single change, Alfred declared with what seemed to be almost a proud expression on his face. Thank you, Alfred. I guess you are the only one that truly cares for me, even after my parents are gone, Bruce said in a sad manner, trying to act up the part of a boy who just lost his parents. It's my duty, Master Bruce. I'll always be there for you no matter what, Alfred said after flinching a little as he heard him mention his parents being gone. He was trying not to talk about the death of Bruce's parents, since he blamed himself for not being there in time, for not being able to save them. Actually, I have something to give you, Master Bruce. Here, this is the watch that your father promised to give you that day after the show. Most of their stuff was taken by the police after their death as evidence, but I was able to pull some strings to secure this. It seems to be not working anymore, but I am sure that we will be able to find someone to fix this later. Alfred took out a really expensive-looking watch and handed it to Bruce. Thanks. This means a lot to me, Bruce said. It meant *T to him since he didn't remember anything about this watch, but it looked like a really expensive limited edition Rolex piece, and he was going to keep it as a memento. It's okay. I'll be taking my leave now. Please call me if you need anything. Also, dinner will be at 7. I'll even tell the chef to prepare your favorite chocolate mousse cheesecake as dessert. The butler smiled a little before turning around and leaving while closing the door behind him. He is a really good butler, isn't he? I guess the original Bruce was really lucky to get him as his parent while growing up. Perhaps the luck passed on to me now, Bruce thought to himself as he lied down on his comfortable and soft bed. I don't think I'll be able to live much longer. A lot of people would want me dead, and I doubt I currently possess the willpower and skills to become the Batman. I would probably die even before the canon starts. So I should just enjoy my limited days on this dark, twisted version of Earth by spoiling myself silly with all this wealth. Maybe I should just sell all this and escape to some no-name country to live out the rest of my days in peace and luxury. Bruce thought as he fiddled with the broken watch. The watch didn't have much damage on the outside except the slightly cracked glass, but for some reason the seconds hand wasn't able to move from its place despite it still making the ticking sound. It seemed like something was stopping the seconds hand from starting its journey round the dial. I wonder how this watch works. Does it work like all watches do in the 20th century, or does it have different machine parts? I truly should be ashamed at myself. 2 years of learning electronics engineering, and I still don't even know how a simple watch works. He thought angry at himself as he barely learnt anything about engineering. Even the only program he had learnt to write in his 2 years of study in his past life was Hello World. As Bruce just blankly stared at the watch, his anger rising at the watch not working for some reason, he began to slowly lose himself into the constant rhythmic ticking sound. All he wished was to somehow learn how this broken watch worked, and fix it just like he desperately wanted to fix his life. And that was the moment which changed Bruce's life forever, for he finally discovered his cheat for his new life, since under Bruce's watchful eyes, the Rolex soon appeared to break apart into holograms of its most basic components layer by layer as they lined up to show Bruce how they worked, to show him their secrets. He immediately understood how the watch originally worked, its mechanism, the problem for which it was not working, even what it was made of. He was even sure that he could make the same watch himself if given the right tools. What the hell was that? It felt like I was high or something. It felt awesome. Is that supposed to be my ability? I can know how stuff works. Bruce laughed as he finally realized that what he felt might just be the key to his survival in this world. If this is real, I'm going to spam the hell out of this, Bruce thought as he began to think how else he could use his power to make the coolest stuff or reverse engineer the most complicated technologies to give him an edge over the rest of the heroes and villains out there. He was going to survive, and he would do anything to make sure of that. Having a superpower is something unbelievable for anyone. It was the same for Bruce as well. Until now he was moping about the fact that the only superpower he was going to have was being filthy rich, but it turned out that he had a real superpower given to him to survive in this world. A power that was his own, an intuitive intellect. The first thing Bruce did after gaining that power was beginning to experiment with it. It was not just his wish to develop and master his power, but also to satisfy his curiosity about how his power exactly works or in what ways he can use it. He immediately began to try to use his power on every other electronics or mechanical item in his room, including the lights, a calculator, a pen, and some other small machine stuff that he could get his hands on. At first, it was a little difficult for him to properly use his power, but after doing it a couple of times he understood how it worked. All he had to is just to will his mind to analyze and understand the thing in front of him, and voila, his ability would automatically activate. It broke down the machine he used his power on into separate hologram components of itself and showed him what each specific component of that machine did, how they worked, and how they were joined with each other, as well as the functions of the machine. It even showed him the properties of the materials the components were made from. But there was also a shortcoming in his power. It seems that he cannot automatically know the name of the components or the parts of the machine if he hasn't ever heard of them before. For example, When he disassembled the pen, he knew the general names of most of its parts, but he didn't know the names of the components of the ink. He only knew the general properties of the components and how they were combined to make that ink. Same with the other stuff too. In the holograms, he was only shown the names of the components which he already knew the names of previously. That meant that if he wanted to truly use his powers to the maximum, he had to study stuff up as well, since his power was directly linked to his mind and knowledge. The more he knew, the smoother and more efficient his ability would be. So, I can analyze already built stuff in my mind, but can I possibly do the reverse? He thought as he began to imagine a modern smartphone from his previous life in his mind, and willed his ability to tell him how to make that into reality. As soon as he activated his ability, countless holograms began to pop up in front of his vision, which showed him how to build a smartphone from scratch, including its software and hardware. Yes, I knew it. It is possible. It seems I have a similar ability to forge from the comics. My power gives me the innate talent to either analyze and figure out stuff, or it gives me enough knowledge to make new tech just from my imagination. But this happiness was only short-lived for him. Since as soon as he focused back on the holograms, he understood that he didn't know the names of half of those components despite knowing their individual detailed properties and uses. His general knowledge about electronics was lacking in his ability to comprehend everything on its own. He understood that he had to learn about more stuff so that his ability could include his learned knowledge in its process, and can give him a more simple and efficient method of constructing the particular smartphone or any other invention he wants. He was a little depressed at this that he wouldn't be able to make stuff from the get-go and had to study some stuff up first, but he didn't let this keep him down. He knew that with this ability he could easily increase his knowledge. Also, he was fully motivated to study stuff up and work hard if it meant that he would be able to use that knowledge for making cool sci-fi technologies later. Wait, can I even make sci-fi stuff from fiction that I have seen or read about? He wondered as he imagined the super soldier serum from the MCU and willed his ability to figure out a way to make it into reality. For a few seconds, he waited with bated breaths as his ability seemed to be processing his mental request, trying to find a way to make it in real life. And then finally, when he thought that he would not be able to wait anymore due to his wildly beating heart, it finally happened. He got the knowledge to make the super soldier serum. But this time, it seemed like there were numerous holes in that knowledge, even more than when he tried his power to find out how to make a smartphone. If he had to give it a number, he would say that presently barely 10% of the knowledge was actually clear to him. I guess no pain, no gain. I'll have to work for it like most people do when they train their powers to become better at using them, he thought sadly as he discarded the idea of inventing something like the Omnitrix or the ultimate nullifier and becoming OP instantly. Perhaps one day. He thought as he was determined to become powerful enough to not be scared of anyone anymore. But before all that, he would need a workspace, numerous tools, pieces of equipment, and the biggest of all, books, lots and lots of books. Bruce was called for dinner at exactly 7. He was the only person at the table. Even Alfred wasn't eating with him as he patiently waited beside the table for Bruce to finish his dinner like the loyal and professional butler he was. Hey, Alfred. Bruce started to speak as he picked up a piece of steak with his fork. Yes, Master Bruce? Alfred asked, waiting for Bruce's question. Do you think you can arrange some stuff for me? Like some electrical components, circuits, carpentry tools, and metallurgical instruments among other things. Bruce asked while eating his meat like what he asked wasn't a big deal at all. May I ask what you plan to do with it? Alfred asked as he raised one of his brows in curiosity. Nothing much. I just thought that I should take up a hobby now. After all, a lazy mind is a devil's workplace, so maybe I could busy myself doing some science projects to pass the time. Bruce said as he made sure to make eye contact with his butler to show him that he was telling the truth. I guess I can, but don't you think, Master Bruce, that some other simple hobby like collecting antiques or reading would be a better choice to pass the time? Alfred asked, hesitating to agree, fearing that Bruce might hurt himself with some sharp tool or electrical equipment. I can, but science is what interests me, not antiques. And I have already made up my mind. I think taking up this hobby will really do me good in taking off my mind from the accident. Bruce tried to emotionally blackmail Alfred. I see. But what about the space for the equipment? I don't think the estate is proper enough to store such equipment, nor do I think you should practice any experiment without proper guidance of an adult. Alfred decided to give one last try to reject Bruce's request. Don't worry, Alfred. There's a huge empty cave in our backyard if you are forgetting, and as for adult supervision, I have you. You are plenty adult enough to keep an eye on me. I know you will keep me safe. Bruce tried to give Alfred the starry-eyed look to convince him to let him play scientist. He had even remembered the legendary Batcave and had decided to use it to its full potential by making it into his own unique lab. Oh that. I had almost forgotten about that cave. Fine, Master Bruce. I will contact Wayne Industries and Wayne Technologies to get you some good machine parts and tools appropriate for you as well as renovate the cave. But I am warning you now that I will be present there with you every second when you are inside that cave. Alfred said with a no-nonsense expression on his face. Thanks. You are the best, Alfred. Bruce yelled happily as he thought about all the amazing world-ending weapons he could make with his lab and his new unique ability. Oh, and another thing. Do you think we can buy the Gotham Library? Bruce asked innocently with a straight face. That's interesting. Bruce thought as he completed reading the third physics book from Wayne's private collection of books in his estate. It turns out that his special ability has given him some sort of photographic memory, also known as photographic memory. It lets him not only read and understand stuff a lot faster, but also lets him remember anything after just seeing it once. That was the reason he was able to read 3 complicated high-level physics books in just 1 hour. All he had to do was just take a single look at one of its pages, and he remembered everything written on it. It was like he was on NZT pills from the Limitless movie. He literally felt himself becoming smarter with each page. He even felt his innate ability becoming better too. The pieces of knowledge he was getting were slowly feeding data to make his power work more efficiently. Okay. I take my previous statement back. I don't think this is going to be as hard as I imagined it to be. In fact, I am pretty sure that at the rate I am going, I'll soon be able to build something like the Super Soldier Serum or Extremis after just a few months of absorbing knowledge from books and research papers. And with my wealth and influence on Wayne Corporation, I can literally make anything I want whenever I want. Bruce said as he smiled dreamily at the idea of making a planet-sized mecha or maybe even a time machine one day. If I cannot be the most op Batman ever even after getting such a cheat, I should probably kill myself. Hell, I want to be the most op superhero even before canon begins. I'll make Darkseid cry tears of blood when he comes to Earth. Bruce smiled evilly as he thought if he could develop a machine that could even steal powers like Dr. Doom from Marvel was able to do from Beyonder. Oh, I love my new life. I am gonna have so much fun with it. Ha 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 ha. Muh. Bruce laughed evilly as he soon choked on his saliva and began to cough violently while cursing his own little body of a young boy. Finally, I am done. Bruce sighed as he completed reading all the books in the Wayne Library. It took him an entire week, but he had at last done it. From books on advanced physics, chemistry, and biology to philosophy, politics, economics, and business, he had read it all. So much continuous reading was almost becoming unhealthy for him since he didn't even sleep much for the last few days. But that didn't matter to him. What mattered was that he had done the impossible. He had read, or maybe he should say seen and remembered, every book in the huge Wayne Estate library. Of course, an average speedster or Kryptonian could do the same thing in a few minutes. But he was sure that his reading speed was much better than the other ordinary human geniuses out there on Earth. Knock knock. A sudden knock on the library door brought Bruce out of his deep thoughts. Come in, Bruce said as he closed the last book in his hand and kept it on the shelf. Do you plan to spend the rest of your life cooped up in this library, Master Bruce? I heavily recommend you stop studying so much and enjoy your life a little. You are young right now, you should enjoy the world and all it has to offer. How about I contact some of the players from Gotham Knights to play a mock baseball match with you? Alfred offered. He wanted to get Bruce out of the library and into the fresh air as soon as possible. He was really worried that Bruce was succumbing to depression or some other mental condition while always staying in the mansion. No thanks, Alfred, I am good. Anyways, what about the cave? Is it done being refurbished? Are the equipment and machines here yet? Bruce inquired as he wanted to start working on some inventions as soon as possible. It's almost finished, Master Bruce. We are paying the workers double their wages just to complete the construction by tomorrow. As for the machines, equipment, and other tools, most of them have already arrived and have been placed in the cave. Alfred said with a sigh. Good, very good. Oh, and please make sure that none of the workers hired for the job ever leak the information about the cave in our backyard. Bruce said as he stretched his body. I already made sure of that, Master Bruce. After all, It won't be good for the reputation of the Wayne family if people hear that the young master of the family is building secret science laboratories in the basement of his mansion. I even created a fake paper trail showing that the high-grade expensive machines and tools that we got were donated by the Wayne Corporation to a non-profit science research foundation. Alfred said with a severe expression. Bruce was a little surprised at the fact that Alfred could do illegal stuff like making a fake paper trail, since he was always shown to be a really honest and honorable person and basically a good human being in the comics, movies, and even the animated series. But on second thought, this was quite reasonable, especially since Alfred was a retired soldier who had seen and experienced a lot, and also he was the chief butler of the Wayne family. He knew his way through the politics and ways of the rich, even if the Wayne family didn't employ such dirty tactics much. "Thank you, Alfred. That'll be all," Bruce said, quite pleased with the butler. "Also, the main reason I am here, young Master Bruce, is that the Gotham police are coming to take your statement. I had delayed them till now since you were not in a good mental condition, but they are insisting on an official statement from you today. I know that talking about the incident would be hard for you, but I too think that you should tell them whatever you can remember from that night. It might potentially help them catch your parents' murder." The criminal. Alfred resisted mentioning the death of the Wayne couple directly in front of Bruce. "Okay. I don't think I remember too much about that night, but I'll say whatever I can remember," Bruce said as he nodded at Alfred. "Thank you, Master Bruce. I'll go and prepare some snacks and maybe some English tea. You do seem to have taken a liking to the tea I make for the last few days." Alfred smiled as he turned around and walked away to prepare for the guests that were coming. Now, what do I remember from the Wayne couple's death? Bruce thought to himself as he tried to remember various versions of the same event from the comics and the movie. In every mainstream version, the couple gets killed by a thief who wanted all their valuables on them. In some, it's a mistake, while in some it's a deliberate murder. There are even versions where the thief was actually hired by the Court of Owls to get rid of the Wayne couple, so that they could quite easily take control of Gotham. Now, what's the name of the thief? Cold coffee or something? God damn it. Why don't my photographic memory work for my memories from my previous life? Bruce clicked his tongue in annoyance. He remembered the names of almost every big hero and villain, but it was the identities of these small-time characters that he had forgotten. Maybe I should keep a journal, but again, the number of times people had stolen information and items from the Wayne Manor or Batman himself is too much for me to write a physical journal with such sensitive information and keep it in the mansion. He thought as he prepared to go to the living room, since he could already hear a car slowly approaching their mansion. Jim Gordon POV. I am telling you, Jim, I am sensing something weird with this Wayne family murder. I don't understand why the young Wayne boy couldn't give his statement earlier. It has been more than a week. I tell you, I smell something funny in this. I say we arrest the butler. In cases like these, the butler is always the murderer. Harvey gave his expert opinion as he looked at me with a facial expression like the solution to the case was obvious, and I was the idiot to not see it. It's not that simple, Harvey. The butler, Alfred, has a solid alibi. I suspected him too at first, but I simply didn't find any reason for him to do it. Also, he doesn't exactly have the personality to commit such a crime. I say as I rang the bell beside the door. Whatever you say, partner, but remember, people in Gotham are never as they really appear to be. They are sick, twisted bastards who can betray you at a moment's notice, Harvey said as he adjusted his belt and cowboy hat. The door was soon opened by the butler himself, who greeted both of us politely and led us to a sofa in the living room. The young Bruce Wayne was already sitting on one of the sofas. He looked thinner than normal as his eyes had turned red due to lack of sleep and had sunken in his face. It seems the kid was really suffering from the inside due to his parents' deaths. Good morning, detective? Bruce looked at us both in a questioning manner. I am Jim Gordon, and this is my partner Harvey Bullock. I am sorry to disturb you, Bruce, but we need your cooperation to get the criminal who is responsible for your parents' deaths. I say, a little uneasy at mentioning the death of his parents in front of him. Bruce's eyes seemed to widen a little at the mention of our names. Perhaps he recognized us. Well, I can't deny that I am not famous in the department right now due to the recent battle I am waging against the cartels in Gotham. We need to ask you some stuff, kid. We know that this is a difficult time for you, but answering our questions will make our job a lot easier to arrest the one responsible for the crime, since you were the only eyewitness there, Harvey said as he picked up a cookie from the plate in front of him as he happily munched on it, uncaring that he was talking to a child who was recently orphaned. I guess he is either a natural asshole, or that's what working in the Gotham Police Department for a long time does to you. Or maybe in his case, both. Sure. Ask away. I don't remember all the details from that night since everything is a mess in my memory, but I will gladly help you with whatever information I can remember. The young boy said with a downtrodden expression on his face, as he didn't seem to mind Harvey. Okay then, let's begin, I said as both I and Harvey got our notepads out of our pockets to take down details and important notes about the incident. I asked him all the questions that I could think of that could give us some clues about the murderer, but most of the answers were disappointing as they didn't really provide us with a solid lead. According to Bruce, there was only one man who had tried to mug the Wayne family, but he couldn't get a good look at his face due to the darkness of the night. That one man had shot all 3 of Wayne's family members before he escaped. The Wayne couple of course was spot dead, but the young Wayne had survived as the bullet had barely missed his heart and had been a flesh wound. His medical records and the forensic reports confirmed his statement as well since all 3 bullets were shot by the same gun. In short, we got no additional helpful details besides confirming the points we had already guessed and knew. I see. That will be all, I guess. Please get in contact with us if you remember anything more to add, I said, trying to hide the frustration in my voice at not getting a more helpful clue in catching the criminal bastard. I will definitely do so, Bruce said in a sad voice as he seemed to have guessed what I was thinking. This kid really seems to be down. Maybe I should bring my daughter the next time I visit. She is almost the same age as him and could be friends with him. She might be able to cheer him up. He looks like he really needs a friend and a playmate. Oh, and next time, you should prepare a cup of hot Joe next time. We Americans aren't really a fan of tea. We prefer either hot coffee or some chilled whisk. Harvey was again starting to be a jerk as he started his useless banter with Alfred, but I quickly stopped him with an elbow to his side. Sometimes I wonder how I even work with him. Wait, what did you just say? Bruce suddenly looked up at Harvey with wide surprised eyes. Shit, was he insulted by this? I knew bringing Harvey with me was a bad idea. I should have left him in the car. Hell, my little daughter is probably more sensible than him. Chilled whiskey? Harvey asked in doubt. Yes, but you also said a cup of Joe. Yes, I finally remember. Thank you, Mr. Harvey. You just did a huge favor to the Wayne family, the young boy said as he had a joyous expression on his face. Did the kid finally crack or something? Maybe losing his parents, being shot, and then listening to Harvey's bullshit was too much for him. Thanks. Harvey replied as he looked at me, trying to make sense of what was happening. The man who killed my parents. He had mistakenly said his name in front of me after he shot me, thinking that I was dead. He said that his name was Joe Chill. Bruce said as he looked at me directly in the eyes. Everyone in the room was quiet for a few seconds, including the butler Alfred and even Harvey. This was huge. If this was really the real name of the murderer, then we will be able to arrest him. Thank you, Bruce. This would be a huge help to our investigation. I promise you that we will definitely get the criminal and give him the punishment he deserves. This is my promise to you, I said as I shook his hand. Let's go, Harvey. It's time for us to leave. We have a criminal to catch, I said as I marched towards the door in a hurry. We will need to act soon if we want to catch him. I just hope that he hasn't left the city yet. We got in our car and drove straight to the department headquarters. We will need to keep this under wraps and not let this Joe Chill guy get a single chance to escape. Bruce Wayne POV. I wonder if I did the right thing by telling the cops about Joe. I mean, in some versions of the comics, the guy even got his redemption arc or something, which I am sure he wouldn't get this time if he gets arrested. Although, again, in some versions, he was actually evil and had even made his own criminal empire later by doing illegal stuff. Well, truthfully, I don't care. I don't either like or hate Joe Chill. I don't even know the guy. He might have killed previous Bruce's parents, but not mine. I have no connection with him. Whether he lives or dies, simply doesn't matter to me. And I am definitely not going to go out of my way to take revenge on that guy. I have much better and more important things to do, as well as more dangerous people to worry about. So, I am sure that the police will be much better suited to take care of him. He would get life imprisonment at the minimum due to his crimes, especially if I make sure to pull some strings through Alfred. Also, the Wayne family has some pretty good lawyers. I felt a hand on my shoulder as I saw Alfred beside me looking somberly at the police car leaving the mansion, his eyes glistening with traces of tears. He seems to have become emotional at the recent conversation. But again, Joe Chill would probably not survive after he gets arrested, especially if the Court of Owls has a hand in the murder of the Wayne couple in this reality. They would make sure to sever all connections linking them to the case. I guess this in a way is an experiment for me to find out if the Court of Owls has anything to do with the murder of the Waynes in this reality or not, and the result of this experiment ultimately depends on if Joe Chill will remain alive or not. I am not sure that can be said to be safe, Master Bruce. I think we should discuss further your experiments and take some expert opinions to see if they are safe or not before you continue, Alfred said worriedly as he looked at Bruce carefully picking up a hot smoking metal with a pair of tongs. Don't worry, Alfred, it's completely safe. There is absolutely nothing that can go wrong here. Bruce smiled as he put down the metal carefully, but as soon as he touched the metal piece with the machine he was assembling, thin lines of electricity suddenly exploded from in front of him. Well, nothing besides that. He corrected himself. Bruce was currently making a mini arc reactor similar to the one from MCU. He wanted to build a battle suit too, but sadly he barely had the materials and tools necessary to make the arc reactor. He was extremely lucky that Alfred didn't know how dangerous palladium really was, or that Wayne Industries for some reason didn't say no to sending palladium to his house without a permit or conducting any further inquiries on why he even needed the radioactive material. He wanted to make the arc reactor with the potassium element that the Starks invented, but his intuitive intellect told him that trying to make that metal right now with his limited tools and resources was more than just a simple challenge. In fact, at first, he doubted if he would even have been able to make a simple machine because although he possessed the knowledge, he didn't have the slightest skill in making stuff. But fortunately for him, his ability took care of that for him. Within just a few minutes of tinkering, he had innately understood almost all necessary physical skills to make complex inventions like carpentry, metallurgy, and every other talent that required years of practice and concentration. It was like he was a natural-born talent in the Department of Scientific Research. Eureka! Bruce exclaimed happily as he finished attaching the mini arc reactor to his first true masterpiece, his new Swiss Army knife. And may I ask what you might have made here, young master? Because it definitely doesn't look like a Swiss Army knife, as you told me before. It looks much more complex and also bigger, Alfred said as he looked at the strange device in Bruce's hands. Oh, but it is a Swiss Army knife, Alfred, just millions of times more advanced. I call it the proto-tool. Although I might call it the bat tool as well. Bruce muttered the last part to himself, wondering if he should continue with the bat theme like the original Bruce Wayne would have. Bruce's new proto-tool was actually the combination of the proto-tool of the plumbers from the Ben 10 verse and the multi-tool from Star Wars. He made the mini arc reactor as the power source of this new tool of his. Although not nanotech, Bruce's new proto-tool was the apex of multipurpose microfolding technology. This little multipurpose machine of his had almost every tool he might need in the next couple of years for his other inventions, or any other needs he might have including self-defense. It was equipped with an energy vibroblade, a hydrospanner, a mini energy blaster, a custom bow or crossbow firing energy arrows, an energy sword, spear, staff, a grappler, energy shackle, flashlight, taser, laser, a sight, scope, an energy shield, a vacuum cleaner, and even an extremely high-grade analyzing tool. The best thing was that Bruce could program more modes and tools into it later. Also, the tool would only work for him and the people whose DNA and fingerprints he would upload into it, making it useless for any thieves to try stealing it. The tool was a bit of an overkill, but Bruce was proud of it. He had wanted to make it smaller like the sonic screwdriver from Doctor Who, but sadly, he didn't have access to the resources for that yet. So, he had settled for a multipurpose proto-tool, aka Bat Tool instead. After that, Bruce spent the rest of his morning testing out the Bat Tool he had made for the entirety of his last week. He was extremely happy with it. He knew that with this tool alone, he could easily become a street-level superhero if he so wished. Boom! As Bruce shot the head of another mannequin with the blaster mode, Alfred looked at Bruce with helpless eyes as he said, "This is proving to be more and more dangerous, Master Bruce. Can't you make something simple like a potato clock or maybe a walking robot? I heard many people are doing that nowadays." You know what, Alfred? You are right. I should make something like that next. An AI will be useful for assistance in my future endeavors, Bruce said as he began to think about what type of AI he should make. Hearing this, Alfred began to feel like his job was in danger for some reason. Anyways, Master Bruce, when would you like to start school again? I think being near more kids your age should be good for you. Also, you can even show off your science knowledge as well as your archery and shooting talents there too. Alfred said as Bruce released an energy arrow from the bat tool's bow mode. You are joking, right, Alfred? Come on, I just made a tool that even most of the brilliant minds on the planet would not be able to reverse engineer, and you want me to go to school? I am pretty sure that I know more than most of the teachers in any school. Bruce smirked. I know, but that doesn't mean you are above going to school. There are a lot of other things people go to school for besides knowledge, some of them being friends and happy memories. Alfred calmly spoke. Well, I need neither. I am perfectly happy staying here in the manor without friends, just inventing stuff. Bruce tried to argue. That is not up for discussion, Master Bruce. You will resume school if you want to continue spending time here in the cave and do your science stuff. Alfred strictly said. Gosh, fine, Bruce grumbled as he finally agreed with Alfred. He knew that Alfred was doing all this to actually benefit Bruce in the long run by trying to give him a happy childhood, but the truth was that he didn't need one. What he needed was more knowledge, skills, and other useful tools and weapons he could use to survive later down the line. Good. I'll inform the school board that you will be starting school again next month. Also, the Gotham Library finally accepted your generous donation and decided to give the Wayne family exclusive reading rights to all books in the library. So you can go there anytime to read any book you want from now on. Alfred said as he smiled at Bruce. Then, let's go there tomorrow. I would need some advanced programming and computer science books if I want to know the basics of programming before I start making my own AI. Bruce said as he continued testing the different modes on his bat tool. Got it, young master. Now, can you please put down that huge glowing sword? I feel like I am going to have a heart attack every time you wield that thing. Alfred said as he felt a headache coming. Why did we have to go all the way to the library? Couldn't the library just deliver the books that I want to the estate? Also, why can't we just buy the entire library and shift all the books that I want directly to our home? Bruce nagged like a spoiled child as he looked at the shabby city outside through the car window while he and Alfred were returning from the library to the Wayne Manor. He didn't like going out of the comfort of his home into this cursed city every day, just to read some books. Well, master, I asked the same question, but apparently you cannot be the owner of a city government-owned library. You can donate to it and thus experience some extra benefits, but not buy it entirely. So I donated a generous amount to the library according to your wishes and got you the right to read any book you want in there, even the restricted ones. But the condition is that in case of such rare or restricted books, you will have to read them in the library and won't be able to take them out of the library premises. Alfred patiently explained to Bruce. I don't like it, but I guess you can't have everything you want in life. Bruce grumbled while thinking, at least not so soon after my recent transmigration. By the way, any news about my parents' murderer from Detective Gordon after our last conversation? Bruce crassly asked. Unfortunately, no, young master. But I do assure you that the culprit will get caught one way or the other. And when he does, I will make sure that he gets his due. He will never be able to see the outside world ever again. Alfred said with a distinct coldness in his normally caring voice. I hope so, I really do hope so. Bruce trailed off as he again shifted his attention outside. Quite surprisingly, they were passing by the same alley where his parents got killed that day. Bruce could feel it in his heart and bones, a chilling sensation of trauma and a lingering feeling of heartbreaking sadness. They were the suppressed emotions that the previous Bruce had left for him even after his death. Wait, what is happening there? Bruce suddenly spoke out as he noticed a group of people looking like thugs cornering a small poor-looking child. Alfred, we should help the child. I think he is in trouble. Master Bruce, it's not safe for you. I am sure that someone else will definitely help the child. Someone besides us. Alfred didn't want to stop the car and get involved in situations like these. He didn't want to do anything that could potentially endanger Bruce. Look, Alfred, I know where you are coming from. I probably would have agreed with you normally, but that's a child who needs our help in the same alley where my parents were killed and I was shot while nobody came to help us despite our desperate yells and screams. Do you want the same thing to happen in the same place to another child? Bruce pleaded as he looked and reasoned with Alfred. He normally really wouldn't have bothered with stuff like these, but even a selfish person like him couldn't just ignore a little child being harmed in front of his eyes. This was one of the few rare cases where he genuinely wanted to help someone without expecting anything in return. Besides, he had no danger from ordinary thugs like these, not with his bat tool still with him. Fine. Stop the car here, Jimmy. And also, Master Bruce, please don't get out of the car, no matter what happens. Alfred said as he opened the car door and got out of the car. Hello there, gentlemen. May I ask what is happening here? Alfred asked in a polite tone to the 5 people cornering the little child dressed in worn-down clothes, which looked like they had been patched and melded multiple times. Bruce was watching and hearing this from the window of the car parked a little away from the alley. Normally, he wouldn't be able to hear sounds that far away, but he had a sound amplifier and a digital zoom-in binocular in his new bat tool, which made observing them and hearing their voices excessively easy. None of your business, Brit. Now why don't you do us a favor and get the hell out of here? A nameless thug yelled in anger. I am afraid I can't do that. Not while that child is still here. You see, my master is suffering from the trauma of a recent incident, and he doesn't want to see someone suffering from the same fate he has suffered from. So I have to politely request you to leave that child alone and walk away for both of our sakes. The look in Alfred's eyes hardened as he discharged a thinly veiled threat toward the punks. No can do, English boy. This little street runt stole money from us and we want it back. A well-mannered dude like you have no business in protecting a thief like this, do you? Now bugger off before you get some holes in that well-groomed suit of yours. A different thug spoke up this time. The child didn't say anything to oppose the thug's claim, indicating that the thug's words were probably true. Really? Cursing me on my suit and place of origin? So original. Now, I guess since you guys don't understand words of peace, I'll have to use something a little more violent on you. Alfred didn't back down as he inserted his right hand into his coat. Wait. How much did the child steal from you? A voice suddenly came from Alfred's back which startled him, and he quickly got his hand out of his coat. Young master, what are you doing here? Alfred spoke out, frustrated that Bruce had come here despite his initial warning to him. Now, who are you, little rat? This doesn't concern you. The first thug spoke out again as he looked Bruce up and down. Maybe, but your money does concern you, right? How much money did he steal from you? I'll give you your money back, and all you have to do is just take it and leave that child alone. How about that? Bruce said as he looked at the thug who seemed like their leader, completely ignoring Alfred's frustration. He was mainly here to stop Alfred from doing something stupid. He already knew that Alfred had begun to carry a gun after the incident that night. But he didn't want him to carelessly use that gun on someone. Many enemies of the Wayne family were already looking for reasons to strip away Alfred's position as Bruce's legal guardian somehow. Bruce didn't want to give them a way to do exactly that. Sure. All I care about is that we get our fairly hard-earned money, no matter who gives it back to us. That little shit stole $1,000 from us. Give it back, and we will quietly walk away. He said as he showed a disgusting smile. He is lying. There was barely $100 in his wallet. Suddenly the child spoke out in what seemed like a high-pitched and scared voice. Did somebody ask you, you disgusting little maggot? Another thug yelled in rage as he looked at the child threateningly. Fine. Alfred, give him $1,000. Bruce said in a passive voice as he maintained eye contact with the leader. Alfred didn't argue with Bruce. He was glad that this matter could be over with just a measly expense of $1,000. He quickly got out his wallet and took out $1,000 from it and handed the fresh bills over to one of the thugs. You got your money. Now leave. Bruce said without changing his serious tone, which sounded a little funny since it was coming from a 9-year-old child. Yeah, but what about the charges for our psychological damage and loss of working time? I think we can agree on another $2,000 to settle that. Of course, you can always choose not to pay, in which case we will, kindly, ask our little street rat here for it. The thug leader tried to take advantage of them. Psychological damages? You were traumatized by a little child stealing from you? And lots of time? I am sure that most of you guys do nothing but harass people all day. Alfred shouted in annoyance at their blatant try to rip them off their money. He was not angry about having to pay money. He was angry that those people were trying to take advantage of him and his young master. The leader seemed ticked off at Alfred's outburst and angrily said, "We work for the Falcone crime family. Our time is more important than our lives. Now unless you want to be squashed like little cockroaches under our boot, then either pay or..." Pew 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 pew, I hate con men and people who yell for no reason. Bruce said as he shifted his bat tool from his gun mode back to its torch mode and kept it in his belt buckle, looking like a glorified child security guard. Did you just kill those people, young master? Alfred asked, not believing his eyes, his brain working at full speed in finding ways to protect Bruce from the ensuing legal repercussions. Do you think I am crazy or something? Of course, I didn't kill them. I shot low-voltage electromagnetic shots. They were like tasers and were only strong enough to knock them out for a few hours. Bruce snorted, not telling Alfred that they may or may not suffer from a decreased IQ since Bruce set the voltage at a much higher level than needed to knock out an average human. Okay, but please don't do that next time something like this happens. And also next time, stay in the car. Alfred said as he frowned at Bruce. I can't promise anything. Bruce jokingly said as he focused his attention on the child. This was the first time he was looking closely at him now. He could not see his face before as the child had a hood on, and the alley was quite dark even in daylight. Are you alright, kid? Are you injured? Do you need help of any kind? Bruce said as he went close to the kid sitting on the ground and noticed a scratch on his leg. And no, I am alright. It's just a small scratch. The kid nervously said as he opened his hood to show his face. The face was really beautiful in a girlish way with a strange aura of uniqueness and mystery to it. That face looks like that of a girl's. And that voice also seems. Wait, is she a girl? Bruce thought to himself. Are you a girl? Bruce asked as he raised one of his brows curiously. Yeah, wasn't that really apparent? The young girl said as she looked at Bruce in confusion. Not really, you looked like a boy with that hood on. Anyways, I am Wayne, Bruce Wayne. What's your name? Bruce asked as he gave his hand to the girl to raise her. The girl saw Bruce's hand and took it, using it to get up after slightly hesitating for a second. I am Selena Kyle. The girl introduced herself. Bruce couldn't believe that the defenseless little weak and malnourished-looking girl in front of him was Selena Kyle, the future Catwoman of DC. She was not only a master thief and an important character, but also the person who would one day be able to steal Batman's or Bruce Wayne's heart. Is this the universe's way of telling me that I might finally be able to lose my virginity in this life? Bruce thought as he looked at Selena with surprised eyes, but at the very next moment admonished himself for even thinking lewd stuff about a little girl. Hello, Selena. Nice to meet you. Bruce replied with a smile. He didn't want to come off as rude to an important character like her. Growl, a deep voice suddenly came from Selena's stomach, startling both Alfred and Bruce. You are mighty hungry, aren't you, young lady? Maybe we can treat you to a meal or something. Alfred asked as he looked at Bruce through the corner of his eyes to make sure that his young master didn't have a problem against the idea. But none of the food places allow me in after seeing my clothes. Some even try to send me back to the Orpha. Selena tried to complain, but then suddenly became quiet as she remembered that she shouldn't reveal to them how she had run away from her orphanage. You ran away from your orphanage, didn't you? Bruce gave a small laugh as he looked at Selena, who first had a surprised and then a downcast expression on her face, thinking that they would either call the cops on her or just force her to return there. She had escaped from that hellhole with a lot of difficulty, and she didn't want to go back there. She was almost on the verge of tears. You know what, Alfred? I think we had some delicious steak and a bowl of ice cream at home, didn't we? It was going to waste anyway, so how about inviting this girl to come and help us finish it up? Bruce asked, looking at Alfred. The old butler knew what Bruce was trying to do. He himself was empathetic with this girl, so he gave a knowing smile and replied, Yes, indeed we do. I agree with you, young master. We do need some help. So how about it, little girl? Wanna come help us out in finishing the food? Really? Why, you won't send me back or take me away to a bad place, right? Selena asked, already half sold on the idea of accompanying the duo back to their house to eat some tasty food. We won't. Promise. Bruce said as he used his little finger to grab hold of Selena's pinky finger in a childish show of promise. Then fine, I guess I can accompany you this time. Selena agreed, making it seem like she wasn't that eager to go and eat at his home. Bruce and Alfred then directed Selena to their car, which was still parked at the same location, and told the driver Jimmy to go back straight to the manor. Bruce and Selena didn't say anything the entire journey. Alfred had tried to crack open some really bad dad jokes to lighten the awkward atmosphere, but sensing an absence of interest in conversation from both the children, he just sighed and became quiet. Is this really your home, or do you share it with other people? Selena finally opened her mouth once they entered the gates of the manor. Well, it's my family home. And currently, I am the only resident if you don't count Alfred and the other couple of dozen maids and security officials living here. I am an orphan after all. Bruce said with an impassive face. After the incident with his family, Alfred, who had been spooked, had contacted some of the best security agencies in the world and hired an entire team of professional security officials to ensure Bruce's safety. He had even begun to carry a gun on himself, as well, even though he had once sworn to never again use a gun after he had retired from the army. I see. You are quite lucky to have a big home like this, Selena said as she excitedly looked around the big mansion while entering through the door. Yes, I really am quite lucky. Bruce didn't deny it. He knew that as a human being, both he and the original Bruce was quite lucky to have billions in the bank to fall back on even after becoming an orphan. Although the previous Bruce of this universe probably ran out of his luck as he got shot and died in that alley. Someone should never depend on pure luck in life. Plans, preparations, and skill are way better. He thought, vowing to never just go with the flow and instead control his own life and destiny with his plans and ability. You should wash your face and hands first before eating, young miss. The washroom is that way, Alfred said, his voice carrying a gentle yet strict undertone, leaving no arguments to be made. You too, young master. Both Bruce and Selena couldn't help but nod their heads and go to the washroom to clean themselves one by one. This was new for Selena. At the orphanage, nobody cared if you had washed your hands or not. Hell, they didn't even care if you had eaten or not, much less maintain your cleanliness and good habits. Once both of them were done, Alfred presented an assortment of hot food on the table in front of them. There were slices of bread, vegetables, soup, bacon, a big steak, and even a shake. The dessert will be for after you finish your food, Alfred said, taking his position to stand near the table and wait patiently for them to finish their meal. Selena didn't wait anymore. The moment she had seen the wide assortment of food, she started salivating like a hungry cat seeing a fish. She didn't even care for any manners as she just ate as fast as she could with her hands, like she was afraid that all of it would suddenly vanish soon. Both Bruce and Alfred just smiled upon seeing this. None of them said anything to her about table manners and just watched her eat. She is almost like a speedster, Bruce thought as he slowly ate his own food with a fork. After both of them finished eating, the duo just sat on the sofa in front of the massive antique fireplace with a bowl of ice cream in each of their hands. Alfred wasn't there as he was allowing them to talk alone and for Bruce to potentially make a new friend. I wish the orphanage food was as nice as this. This was the nicest meal I have ever eaten in my life, Selena said as she licked her spoon with her little tongue. Bruce, who was watching this, cursed himself for ever seeing those damned lowly videos in his previous life. They had truly corrupted him, and now, even though he was a grown teenager in a young boy's body, he was still finding Selena strangely cute and extremely beautiful. All because of that cursed Boku no Pico, he thought, and pushed the entire blame to that abomination he had once mistakenly watched during his adolescence. I am glad to hear it. I aim to please, Bruce said, trying to distract his focus from Selena. I know that you two will probably shift me back to the orphanage tomorrow. But still, thank you for today. I am glad that I was able to eat such tasty food and able to make a friend, Selena said as she stared down at her ice cream like she was gonna miss it the most. Bruce couldn't reply anything to that. It was true, even though he did help her today, he couldn't do it every day. She was an orphan who didn't belong here. Being a poor orphan suffering was her plot. Her harsh life was the thing that would one day shape who she was gonna be. To become the Catwoman, she needed to be an orphan. She needed to be poor and suffer. Bruce couldn't change her fate. That would change his own plot as well, and it could potentially change everything. And Bruce was just a regular guy now. He couldn't help her even if he wanted to, could he? Could he? TCHH. Such a weakling. I guess I still suffer from that cowardly herd mentality of my last life, don't I? The same mentality that got me killed by a goddamn DC fanatic. Ha ha ha. I am forgetting that I am no longer that weakling anymore. No, I am Bruce Wayne. I am goddamn Bruce Wayne, for God's sake. I can do anything I want. And I know what I exactly want, right now. Screw the consequences. Bruce had an entire inner monologue within just a fraction of a second. Hey, Selena. Do you like it here? Bruce asked, looking at the girl in her eyes to show his seriousness. Yeah. Of course I do. Selena nodded like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Then tell me honestly. If I gave you a choice to remain here with me in his home as my friend, if you never have to go back to your orphanage again, will you accept it? Bruce said with determination flashing in his eyes. Are you pulling my tail? Selena said as she looked at Bruce, annoyed that he was joking with her. No, and I think the correct expression is, pulling my leg, not tail. Bruce smiled and corrected her. Whatever, I like tail more. But I guess it would not be so bad with living in a home. How worse can it be from the orphanage? Although sweeping the floors would be a little harder due to the much larger size of the building. Selena said as she looked at the floor, trying to judge how much effort it would take for her to clean it. You don't have to clean the floors, silly. The maids will do it. But you have to study and stuff. Bruce said as he looked at her, amused at her answer. Only that? I mean, it's equally as daunting a task, but I think I can manage that. Selena said as she nodded her head like she had given it some deep thought. Fine then, we have a deal. You will be my friend from now on, and I'll share my home with you. But you will have to study too. Bruce said as he thrust his hand forward for a handshake. Okay, I agree. Selena gave a big smile as she shook his hand. By the way, that reminds me, I think you should have this back, Selena said as she took the bat tool out of her baggy worn-out clothes and gave it back to Bruce. I stole it back in the car earlier from you because it looked like it was really useful and expensive. But don't worry, I won't steal from you ever again. I promise. She did a pinky swear, trying to imitate what he had done before in that alley. Bruce was gobsmacked at how much of a good thief she already was at this age. She was almost a natural cat burglar because he didn't even realize that he was missing his most prized creation up until now. Not that she or anybody else would be able to use it with the heavy security protocols inside, including a DNA scanning-based security measure, as well as its state-of-the-art anti-hacking protocols and an autolock feature which locks the tool in its torch mode every 24 hours until provided with a password. Although, he did wonder how she even got caught back there, and why she tried to steal from a guy instead of a regular rich asshole. Thank you for giving it back, I guess. But the next time you want or need something, just ask. I'll bring it for you. Bruce didn't ask her about what happened in the alley. He believed that she would gradually reveal her story to him in time. However, he couldn't help but pinch her cheek at the cute expression she was making. Also, we need to buy some good clothes for you. But because you did this, I'll have to give you a goofy nickname as punishment now. So from now on, I'll call you Kitty. He smiled at the very much super original nickname he had thought of. That's not fair. I of course am a cat, not a mere little kitty. Selena huffed in annoyance as she looked at Bruce's teasing face. But she had a small smile on her lips. In her own secret thoughts, she quite liked her new nickname just like she quite liked this new house and its food, and most of all, she very much liked this strange boy in front of her who was the same age as her. I think I'll like my new home very much. She thought to herself, happy at the sudden turn of her fate. Convincing Alfred of adopting Selena wasn't as hard a task as Bruce imagined it to be. All he had to do was just make him believe that Selena wasn't really a thief and was just trying to steal before to get some food since she was hungry, which was more or less true except for the fact that Selena seemed to have some kind of special grudge with the Falcone family for some reason, as Bruce understood from their conversation on why she was trying to steal from a gang instead of an ordinary rich person. Alfred of course had his doubts about the entire thing, and at one point even thought that Selena could even be a spy or a ploy from one of their enemies. The man had grown really paranoid after the murder of the Wayne couple. But after a few minutes of heartfelt requests from a cute starry-eyed Bruce and slight emotional blackmail about him being all alone and having no friends after his parents' death, the butler melted like pure butter. He ultimately gave in and promised Bruce to take care of Selena's situation first thing in the morning and adopt her officially and legally to make sure that she could remain here freely in the mansion. This freed Bruce of all worries since he trusted Alfred. He knew that his trusty butler would always fulfill his promises and do anything to make sure that Selena gets adopted into his family, even if it means bending the laws with their wealth and influence. His universe's Alfred was cool that way. Maybe it was because of Bruce almost dying in this world after being shot in that alley that Alfred became this paranoid and loose with his morals when it came to Bruce. But whatever it was, he was glad for it. As Bruce was lying on his bed in a carefree manner that night, pleased with himself for having manipulated Alfred and successfully getting what he wanted, a sudden sound of small footsteps got him out of his reverie as he looked at the closed door of his room. "Who's there?" Bruce said, taking the bat tool on his nightstand into his hands, ready to shoot down anything that moves. It's me, Selena." A small mosquito-like voice came out from outside the door. "Kitty? What are you doing here at this time of the night?" Bruce asked, still not moving due to being suspicious of the voice. He had seen far too many horror and thriller movies to just believe any voice he hears during the night and open his door. "I have never slept alone at night. I always used to sleep with the other girls back at the orphanage, so I was a little AFR. Troubled, yeah, I was troubled and couldn't fall asleep, so I thought that I could come here," Selena said from behind the door. Bruce almost laughed aloud at her words, mainly because of how she was trying so hard not to admit that she was just afraid to sleep alone. Fine. I guess you can come in, Bruce said as he opened the door for Selena, but still held onto his bat tool, just in case. Coming in, Selena quietly moved to the big comfortable bed and laid down on it like it was her private bed. Hey, that's my bed, Bruce complained, annoyed at Selena for not even taking his permission before laying down on his bed. Huh? But you let me enter yourself. I thought you knew that I wanted to sleep with you, Selena said, not at all realizing the potential double meaning hiding behind her childish words. But Bruce also ignored them right now and just looked at her with an annoyed expression. What? You can sleep too. You can take that side while I can sleep on this side. I promise I don't scratch or anything, although there was that one time when a bully tried to cut my hair when I was asleep, Selena innocently said as she began to remember the details of the event when she had almost scratched the eyes off a boy. Sigh, okay, I guess you can sleep on my bed for today, but that's only for today. I am a man who likes his privacy, so you should sleep on your own bed from tomorrow, Bruce said as he looked at Selena seriously. Yeah, sure, Selena said, carelessly dismissing his words as she pulled on his blankie to make some space for herself in it. By the way, how did you know the way to my room? I don't think I told you that, right? Bruce asked as he kept the bat tool on his nightstand close to him and pulled on his blanket as well, making sure that he had some left for himself. Well, Alfred had told me where his room was before he went to sleep. So when I couldn't sleep, I first went to Alfred's room. He told me that I should instead sleep with you if I am having nightmares and showed me where your room was. So I came straight here, Selena said as she covered half her face with his blanket and stared at him like a small adorable cat. Bruce was feeling a lot of emotions at the same time right now. He not only felt annoyed at not being the first choice of Selena to come to when she was afraid, but also happy that at least his butler was a good wingman and sent Selena to him. Although it might be due to Alfred not having the slightest idea of his master being a low-key pervert with a head filled with the lewdest thoughts of the 21st century. I see, Bruce answered as he quietly closed his eyes after switching off the bed lamp. Bruce? You awake? Selena asked after some time of only silence permeating the darkness of the room. Yeah. Do you ever miss them? Your parents, I mean? She asked out of nowhere. A little, I guess, Bruce said, although he was talking about his real parents, not the Wayne couple. Do you ever wish that you could meet again, like even if one of them didn't want to meet you? She continued with a voice that sounded like it was carrying a lot of hidden emotion in it. It doesn't matter what I want or wish, Kitty. Reality is always disappointing. Nothing ever goes as planned in this accursed world. The longer you live, the more you realize that the only things that truly exist in this reality are merely pain. But we have to make our path in that reality with our own efforts, create our own protecting bubble with happiness even in the harshness of it. That is what life is about. Enjoying the little things. Bruce combined a couple of quotes to not only encourage her, but also to remind himself why he was trying so hard in this new life. I see. That's deep, you know. Maybe you can be a good politician, Tiger. I heard that they can also give good speeches in public. She smiled as she tried to imagine Kid Bruce with a hat giving a speech about reality in front of the entire city while she was stealing everyone's wallets. Thanks, but Tiger? Bruce asked as he ignored the quip and raised one of his brows in curiosity at the nickname, even though Selena herself couldn't see due to the darkness inside the room. Well, you call me Kitty, so I thought I should give you a nickname too. You seem like a good leader, and you are bold and courageous as you stood against even those thugs in that alley. Also, you are so cute in a different way than normal and a big softie on the inside, thus the name Tiger. Selena explained. Wow, that explanation was deeper than my advice. Bruce laughed at her as he could almost imagine her pouting in the dark at his response. Whatever, Selena grumbled. Now, go to sleep, little kitty, or this tiger might try its luck on hunting you. Bruce teased. Best of luck with that. Catching a kitty is really hard, even for a tiger. By the way, thanks Bruce for everything, Selena said as she slightly touched Bruce's back with her finger to show her appreciation before quickly retracting back her hand. Bruce didn't say anything. He didn't need to. He knew that he had done something good today. He had not only rescued an orphan, hopefully earning him some much-needed good karma for all the psychos he was going to kill later in his life, but also he had secured an adorable little kitty for himself. A kitty that hopefully would one day turn into his own sultry cat. At least he was secretly hoping for that to happen. The silence continued in the darkness of the room, as both of them slowly fell asleep with each having their thoughts swirling in their minds. Of course, Bruce had another problem the next morning when he found out that Selena had hugged him sometime in her sleep and had placed her hand somewhere really close to a place where kids like her shouldn't be allowed to place her hand at this age. Bruce was narrowly able to save his own life and freedom from the interdimensional FBI that morning only due to him being 8 years old, the same age as her, making him unworthy to truly get Morningwood. Bruce survived that day, but he had no idea that it was only the first day and that sleepover was only the first of many with countless more to come. Of course, Alfred didn't know about all this since he, as a dutiful butler and a guardian, just wanted to give his young master a friend and a playmate. So, after waking up, the first thing he did was call up a trusted law firm associated with the Wayne family and had them prepare a meeting with Selena's orphanage. He was not only going to adopt Selena as his daughter according to his master's wishes, but also make sure that there was no corruption in this orphanage of hers. Because the one crime even he couldn't ignore in Gotham was child abuse and trafficking. And he was going to make sure that his future daughter and friend of the heir of the Wayne family was in no way linked to a heinous crime like that. Even his young master had permitted him to use any means possible to adopt Selena and make sure that the orphanage's kids are not being abused in any way. So he was going to do exactly that, even if it meant taking control of every orphanage in Gotham. Yes, the Waynes had enough money to do that without even making a single dent in its deep, deep coffers. I think the future of the Wayne family is in very capable hands, Master Wayne. I hope that both you and Lady Martha can rest assured knowing that the Wayne family would never decline under a young master. I'll make sure of that. Nothing would happen to him as long as I am alive, I promise. Alfred said as he placed a bouquet in front of the Wayne family mausoleum where the two Wayne parents were buried. God, I never thought that writing programs would be this taxing. I think this is my 10,000th line of code this week. Bruce complained to no one as he continued to type away with his tired and swollen fingers. He yawned due to the lack of sleep for the last few nights, a result of Selena making him into her personal hug teddy every night for some reason. Not that he was complaining about it. Anyways, to construct a new AI for him, he not only had to write code for the primary matrix of the AI, but also write different separate additional programs to make sure that the current programming languages and tech of this time would be able to handle and support his code for the required AI. He didn't want to spend a month writing codes for an AI, only for it to crash later because some programming language simply wasn't capable enough to process his complex code. But at least I don't have to make blueprints for this. That's a plus. Bruce's smugly thought. His biggest headache wasn't writing code or gaining knowledge or even using his gift to understand how stuff works. No, his fear was making blueprints. That was the one thing that he hated in this life due to the fact of how time-consuming it truly was. He remembered that he had to spend an entire day making blueprints when he was first trying to make his bat tool. To most scientists or engineers, that would be considered an extremely small time to devote to making a blueprint of such a complex tech, but to him, it was an eternity since he had come up with the idea and understood the entire process of how the bat tool was going to work within just 1 hour, but took a day for drawing up its blueprint. Even following the blueprint and actually constructing the bat tool was a much more enjoyable process where he at least wasn't bored out of his mind. And done. That marks the end of all the additional programs required to run the primary code. Now I just have to write the main code for the AI and start the training process. It would be a little more difficult and time-consuming for the AI to grow and mature due to the absence of enough simulation and training data, since this was still the 90s and the internet still hadn't developed to that extent yet, but the AI would succeed nonetheless with it becoming smarter and smarter with a steady development of technology and spread of internet, since that was the primary place where all advanced AI collect data from to learn. Bruce was at first thinking about making an assistant-type AI like Jarvis, but he already had Alfred. So instead, he decided to go for something more complex. He would never in his full sanity ever try to make a militaristic AI like Skynet, but he could make a supportive analytical one like Cortana, one which could update and evolve its responsibilities with time while strictly sticking to its core programming and commands of being loyal to him and always obeying him. Yes. Soon I'll develop my own AI, and then the entire internet will be my playground. Unlimited nudes forever, ha 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 ha. You are laughing like one of those crazy scientists on TV, you know? Selena said from behind him while chewing on a piece of gum. The hell? Bruce almost had a heart attack as he was surprised by Selena's sudden voice interrupting him. Selena could be really sneaky when she wanted to be. She was the literal living incarnation of what a talented female cat burglar should be like in a fictional universe filled with absurdly skilled and powerful people. Oh sorry, did I surprise you? Selena said with an extremely smug smile that said, "Got you again. Kitty, you took over my bed. I didn't say anything. You made me your hug buddy every night. I didn't say anything. In fact, he even enjoyed it somewhat. But this cave is my personal man cave, and you don't come into a man cave without permission. That's the one thing you never do. And also, how did you even find it? I was sure that I hid all its entrances on the estate ground very well," Bruce said with an annoyed expression. "Oh, it was quite easy. I just followed my gut. I even was waiting for the past 10 minutes to see if you noticed me. I was even thinking of not surprising you this time and just announcing my presence, but when I saw you do what I can say was the most epic crazy scientist laugh I have ever heard, I could no longer control myself. I had to do that." Selena justified herself. "You waited for 10 minutes just to do that? Wow, that's some level of dedication." Bruce could not help but grow amazed. "Yeah, I also liked watching you work, all focused and determined. Anyways, I was here because Alfred was calling you. He seemed to be really serious and worried, so I think you should go and see what it's about." "Let's go then. I don't think we should keep a worried Alfred waiting," Bruce said with a smile as he shut down all the screens in front of him and turned off the cave's main power supply, an additional arc reactor that he had made last time when he was working on his bat tool. As both of them reached the living room of the manor, they saw Alfred talking with someone on the telephone. Seeing the two of them, Alfred quickly bade goodbye to the person on the other side and put down the receiver. "Young master, I have very good news and a little bad news for you," Alfred said as he seriously looked at Bruce standing with a confused face. "I am listening," Bruce replied. "I just talked to Detective Jim Gordon from GCPD, the same guy who took your statement last week. He and his partner seem to have caught the guy who murdered your par, whose name you remembered, Joe Chill. But since you couldn't provide a physical description of the guy in your statement, they do not have conclusive evidence to detain him for long. So they would have to let the guy go. Unless you can go to the station and successfully identify the person yourself," Alfred said, a little angry at himself for even suggesting Bruce go through that all again, to stand in front of the same guy who had killed his parents. To say Bruce was worried about this was an understatement. He didn't know who had murdered the original Bruce's parents in this universe. When he told the name Joe Chill to Jim, it was purely based on a guess from what he knew from the comics about the death of the Wayne couple. It was very much possible that in this reality, the guy didn't even have anything to do with his parents' murder, in which case he would be wrongfully accusing an innocent man as a vile murderer. God, why did I even say that at that time? I really should have thought this through, Bruce said. He had said it in front of everyone to seem like the original Bruce Wayne, genuinely suffering from amnesia. He had used that name as a bone, throwing it to the dogs, so that they don't follow him. It was all only a way for him to make his story sound more genuine, so that nobody would doubt him or question him about the incident too much. Now, even if he stood solid in his previous statement of remembering that name, he wouldn't be able to identify the person since he had never seen him. Even if he was the murderer of the original Wayne family, he would still not be able to recognize him since he didn't inherit the previous Bruce Wayne's full memories. Also, there was always a chance of the person coming back to finish the job and tie loose ends if he were the murderer and if Bruce failed to identify him. As Bruce was thinking about all this, he found a small hand slowly sliding in between his hands, trying to comfort him and remind him of her encouraging presence. Looking at both the empathetic eyes of Selena and Alfred looking at him, practically telling him to do whatever he wanted and that they would always support him no matter which option he chose, he ultimately made his choice. Call Detective Gordon, Alfred. Tell him Bruce Wayne is coming to the station. If that person did kill my parents, I would make sure that he gets his due. That's the least I can do for the Wayne family. I at least owe them that, Bruce said as he clutched the bat tool on his belt buckle, determined to just wing it and worry about complex stuff later when they pop up. He didn't care if he was changing the plot or breaking the character. He had sworn to himself that he was going to write his own story, and that was exactly what he was going to do. He was going to write his own fate, even if he had to shoot an Endless and steal his book for it. This was the first time that Bruce was inside a police station in both of his lives. He was quite curious and nervous at the same time. His nervousness grew even more when he saw the reporters standing outside like hound dogs ready to eat some Bruce Wayne meat. If he for some reason fails to identify Joe Chill, the press controlled by the people truly responsible for his parents' death would brand him as a mentally imbalanced amnesiac patient, whose words cannot be trusted by the Law and Justice Department in this case, and this case would be finally shut down due to lack of evidence. This would not only harm his future reputation, but could also be used by the potential enemy organization behind the conspiracy of the murder of Waynes to end the investigation completely. Bruce even suspected that if Joe Chill was truly the murderer, and if something like the Court of Owls was involved in this conspiracy, then Joe would be killed even if Bruce somehow did recognize him today. He was only a pawn after all. Bruce was even hoping in his heart that the guy gets killed before he could reach the lineup. Don't worry. Even if they took my gun, we still have ways to protect ourselves. Also, there are too many cops here for anyone to try anything. Alfred tried to reassure Bruce, looking at his worried face. No, I was just thinking about Joe Chill. Do you think he would face long-term imprisonment even if I do recognize him today? Bruce asked as he played with his bat tool, since he was bored from all the waiting. They had not brought Selena with them, as both Alfred and Bruce decided not to involve Selena in this mess, since this can negatively affect her mental health. Although the decision did make her extremely angry, and she even tried to use emotional blackmail on them using her big adorable eyes filled with tears, but the duo stood strong on their decision and rejected taking her with them. After all, even if she tried to behave like an adult, she was just a 9-year-old kid right now, much like Bruce, the only difference being she really was 9 years old in both body and mind. Yes, he would. I would make sure of that. Even if the court can't give us the justice we deserve, I have other contacts. The Wayne family might be good and righteous, but it was never weak. It never lacked power or influence. We will get justice, one way or the other, Alfred said as he looked to be deep in thought. I see, Bruce replied and continued to play with his bat tool, which was currently in torch mode, making sure that nobody suspected it to be some high-tech state-of-the-art weapon. The cops had searched them and seized all their weapons at the lobby, which was only just Alfred's gun. When they saw his torch-shaped bat tool, they had only thought it to be a weirdly shaped torch perhaps used by the rich who had money to spend on stupid stuff, so they hadn't taken it from him, dismissing it as harmless. Alfred had of course recognized what it was, but the butler had wisely kept his mouth shut. Bruce, Mr. Pennyworth, we are ready for you now. Please step this way, Jim said as he came up to them. The detective had deep circles under his eyes and looked like he needed a cup of coffee. His workload must be really bad. Well, again it's Gotham, so... Bruce thought as he and Alfred followed him. They went to an empty room that was connected to another room where about 10 similar-looking people wearing the same orange prisoner jumpsuit were standing, holding different number cards in front of them. Now Bruce, carefully look at every one of them and see if you can recognize any of their faces. If you do, and if you are sure, just tell me their number. As long as it matches our suspect, we are good to go. There is no rush, so take your time. But remember, you only have one try. If you fail, we won't be allowed by law to try again. So, only tell me the number when you are absolutely sure. Jim carefully and patiently explained the process to Bruce. Bruce took a deep breath and slowly began to look over each of the inmates' appearances, carefully studying their faces and physical features, trying to remember if he had seen a comic book character like them on some wiki page or YouTube video in his past life. But alas, he remembered absolutely nothing as he went over most of their faces. They didn't look even the least bit familiar to him. As he finally set his vision on the face of the last man, a man with absolutely nothing special to his looks or features, their eyes suddenly met. At that very moment, Bruce felt something. He felt an intense sensation in his stomach, like his guts wrenching, his throat running dry and his body heat rising. Fear? No. It was something completely different. It was anger that he had never felt before in his life. Absolute disgust at the human waste standing in front of him. He didn't need to remember memories about this guy that night. No, Bruce's emotions were enough. The strong, undeniable emotions he was feeling were the proof he required to identify the guy. Bruce's shaking hand moved to the bat tool on his belt, wanting to shoot the bastard right then and there, an action that was noticed by Alfred. Control yourself, master. A Wayne always listens to his heart, but he always plans and acts with his mind. The butler placed his hand on Bruce's shoulder and advised as he followed Bruce's line of vision and looked at the man looking back at them with nervous eyes filled with worry. Yes, you are right, Alfred, like always. Detective Gordon, number 10, is the one. He was the one who killed my parents and shot me in that alley that night. The one who told me his name at a moment of carelessness and overconfidence when I was dying, bleeding out on the cold floor with a bullet in my chest. That is Joe Chill. Bruce added for dramatic effect, making sure that no doubt remained in anyone's mind about his ironclad statement. I see. Are you sure? Jim asked. Yes. 100%. Bruce said as he continued to give Joe a death glare. That is indeed the Joe Chill we apprehended. Thank you for your cooperation. We will handle it from here. Harvey, would you please escort them outside to take their signatures? Jim said as he gestured to another officer to arrest the original Joe Chill and bring him into custody. Bruce and Alfred were escorted by Harvey to the lobby again, where they completed the remaining formalities, which were mainly a couple of signatures. Then the duo left the station for their car, ready to go home. That went well, Alfred said sometime later in the car. Don't worry, young master. I'll take care of this matter from here. You have done your part. It's time I do mine. Joe Chill will be going to prison for a long time, possibly forever. I hope so, Bruce muttered, but he somehow doubted that. Nothing could be said for certain in an uncertain world like DC. There is always a bigger fish around, always a higher power controlling stuff from behind the shadows. As much as I want to kill him, I hope that he survives and the cops can get some intel from him about the real people behind this crime. Bruce wanted confirmation of the existence of the Court of Owls. Once he did get that, he would be able to plan his steps according to that. Although, if he dies in police custody or prison, then that would also give me the confirmation I am looking for. The rest of the day was uneventful for the entire Wayne family, as Bruce just focused on his inventions in his cave to divert his mind, and Alfred did his housework like usual, after making some calls while Selena either hung out with Bruce or tried to practice gymnastics as she had taken it to be her hobby. The next morning, when the newspaper was delivered to all the homes in Gotham, a single article dominated the entire first page of the most famous newspaper in the city. Primary suspect in the Wayne family murder case, identified by survivor Bruce Wayne to be the killer of the billionaire Wayne couple Thomas and Martha Wayne, dies in police custody due to heart attack. The article stated that Joe Chill died in police custody after suffering from a major heart attack where medical attention could not be provided in due time. The forensic scientists assigned to the case had cited this as a natural death without any outside interference or foul play. There was even a big picture of Joe Chill's face, making it clear in the article that this case was simply a mugging gone wrong, and that the Waynes were just at the wrong time at the wrong place. Of course, most of the people of Gotham ate this right up, except a few, which included a small 9-year-old boy silently observing everything, understanding everything and just waiting for his chance, biding for time and making his preparations like a determined hunter. For when a true bat flies, he flies for blood. Are you sure you want to do this, young master? Alfred asked as he fixed Bruce's tie on his new tuxedo. Yes, Alfred, I am sure. We need to make a public statement showing that the Wayne family is still going strong, and this funeral is the best way to do that. It will help me in both paying respect to my parents, as well as using this opportunity to tell the world that the Wayne line hasn't ended yet. Bruce said as he looked at his reflection in the mirror. He looked cuter than even the most famous child actors. Probably an effect of the body belonging to one of the most important and central characters in DC. I see. By the way, you look good. I think your parents would be really happy seeing you in that suit today. After all, you always hated wearing suits. Alfred said with a small smirk on his face. Thanks, Alfred. Let's go. I don't want to be late for my own parents' funeral. Bruce said as his butler just sighed and followed behind him. Selena also joined them in the living room. She was wearing a plain black dress, looking like a grieving princess. Are you all right, Bruce? She asked, worried about her friend. Yeah, I am all right. Bruce gave her a small smile to ease her worries. He could not tell her that he was not at all affected by the death of Bruce Wayne's parents, so he had to act a little to keep everyone's suspicion off him. A constant stoic look was doing wonders in that regard. The trio went to the part of the manor grounds that was hosting the funeral, and saw that there were many guests already there as well as some reporters under disguise. Bruce and Alfred readied themselves for the conversations, favors, and questions they would have to face from everyone here. Selena, although had little idea of the importance of this funeral, was still warned by Bruce and Alfred beforehand to stay close to them at all times, and to only respond to people after thinking carefully, while not revealing anything sensitive about their family like Bruce's secret cave or his inventions. Bruce was approached by many people at the funeral to tell him how sorry they were for his loss, how much of a good relationship they had with his parents, and how much they would love to help him if he ever needed it. Most were just trying to establish good relations with him, some even trying to get him to sell some of his companies or properties to them, or pitch him their business ideas and try to get investment from him. Some looked genuinely sorry for him, but those were a minority who could be counted in a single hand. Most were just sharks, who had come here to try their luck to get a piece of him. About 20 minutes into the funeral, He had almost gone crazy with a number of people trying to somehow lynch some benefit from him. The announcement of the officiant for Bruce to say some words in the memory of his parents was the only thing that gave him some temporary relief from the headache that Bruce was getting. He went to the stage and gave a very good speech in his parents' memory, a speech that was written by a professional writer commissioned by Alfred. After giving the speech and shedding some tears which Bruce brought to his eyes thinking about his dead dog in his last life, he was again approached by a volley of people expressing how sorry they were with tears in their eyes, tears which were as genuine as his own. "Bruce Wayne. You have grown, haven't you?" A voice interrupted a conversation that Bruce was having with one of his uncles, Jacob Kane. Looking in the direction of the voice, Bruce saw that it was a crooked-looking man in his mid-40s, wearing a black suit and black glasses with a rose in his hand. He had about half a dozen men behind him standing still with stoic faces like his bodyguards, all dressed in black. "I'll talk to you later, Uncle Kane. Tell Aunt and Kate that I said hello." Bruce ended his conversation with Jacob. He had already learned most of the names of his relatives and other important people using newspapers and photo albums. So he at least knew the names of his close relatives. There were very few of them, and they were probably the only ones at the funeral who were genuinely sad about the death of his parents. "Do I know you?" Bruce asked as he looked at the man with curious eyes. "Maybe. I was your father's friend and associate. My name is Carmine Falcone. I have a little business of my own. Nothing comparable to that of the Wayne family, but enough to bring food on the table. Listen, kid, I was just here to tell you that I am sorry for what happened to your parents. It was an undesirable tragedy. But I am here for you. If you ever need anything, call me. I have a lot of ways to make people's problems go away, permanently. I hope that the Wayne and Carmine families can continue to work together even in the future," he said, giving Bruce a crooked smile as he glanced in the direction of Alfred and nodded to the butler who was observing all this with frowning eyes. "Thank you for your worries and sympathy. But I do not need any help for now. But if I do, I know whom to contact." Bruce gave a fake smile to the head of the Falcone crime family of Gotham. "So be it, kid. And again, nice to meet you. Hope I'll see you by," Carmine said as he turned around and left with his men. For some reason, Selina had come beside him sometime during the conversation and was looking at Carmine Falcone with cold, angry eyes. Carmine, however, didn't notice it and didn't even give the little girl a second look after he was done talking with Bruce. "What happened, Kitty? You don't like underworld kingpins or something?" Bruce asked her. "No, I just don't like liars and assholes," she said cryptically as she continued looking at Carmine's leaving back. "Does she know Carmine or something? Wait, wasn't she Carmine Falcone's daughter in the last Batman film that he watched in his last life? Shit, does that mean I am in a way sleeping with Carmine Falcone's daughter?" Bruce thought as he for some reason felt proud of himself. But before he could continue thinking about this, he was pulled off his thoughts by a girlish voice coming from behind him. "Bruce? How are you?" A small girl with a head full of red hair, about the same age as him, asked as she looked at him with worried and concerned eyes. "Do I know you?" Bruce asked, confused. He wondered if this girl was some distant cousin or relative of his. He hadn't seen her photo in the albums, so he didn't recognize her. "What? Are you still angry with me about that day? I told you I am sorry. I didn't mean to push you into that cave. I didn't even know that you were afraid of bats, otherwise, I would have made sure that we don't play anywhere even near the cave. Just, please forgive me," the girl said with teary eyes, showing that she really did feel sorry. What the hell is she even talking about? Am I supposed to know her? Is this some canon event? Wait, didn't something like this happen in the Batman Begins film at the start of the movie? Is this girl that future reporter named Rachel or something? Rachel? He questioned doubtfully. "What are you talking about?" "It's me, Vicky Vale," the girl said, annoyed that he couldn't remember her name. "Did you forget your old friend just because you got a new one?" she asked with childish anger leaking into her voice as she looked at Selina standing beside him. "What? Of course not, Vicky. I would never forget my friends. It's just that after the incident, I started to suffer from mild memory loss, also known as amnesia. I have trouble remembering parts of my life from before the incident with me and my parents." He quickly tried to shift the blame away from him. Bruce couldn't believe that he was just 9 years old and he was already suffering from girl problems. Billionaires seriously do get it all, don't they? He thought. "Oh, is that true?" Vicky said as she looked at him in pity. Yep, you can ask Alfred if you want. Otherwise who would forget a beautiful-looking friend like you, Bruce said in a gentlemanly manner. A huff came from Selena standing beside Bruce, who had a frown on her face with barely hidden annoyance. And who is your new friend Bruce? Vicky said as she looked at Selena. Oh, this is Selena Kyle, my friend, and Alfred's adopted daughter, Bruce said as he smiled and introduced Selena. Hello, nice to meet you. Vicky, right? Quite a boyish name for a girl. Selena threw a quip at Vicky for some reason, completely forgetting the anger she had for Carmine Falcone some time ago. Really? That's a surprise because you look like one of those gold diggers my father talks about who steals other people's friends. Vicky smirked at Selena, looking like she was proud of her argument. Bruce at this time wanted to get out of here. He was in no mood to come in between their argument, although the argument was caused because of him. You know what? I think Alfred is calling me, so I'll have to go. But Vicky, please do visit us sometime. I and Selena will both love it if you come and play with us, Bruce said as he smiled at Vicky. He was not gonna miss a chance to get some early connections with a famous future reporter early on in his life. Also, Vicky Vale was reportedly quite hot in the comics. So she could at least be his eye candy growing up. Selena was annoyed at Bruce for inviting Vicky to their home, but she didn't say anything. She knew that even though she was Bruce's friend, she didn't have authority over him. It was quite the opposite, actually, since she always listened to him as she knew that he was not only smarter than her, but also the real reason why she was even able to stay with them. Of course, Bruce. We will play together just like old times, Vicky said, acting like a grown-up. Bruce just smiled and turned to leave. He really was bored at the funeral and needed a drink, a non-alcoholic one since Alfred would never allow him to touch any sort of alcoholic drink at this age. As he went towards the table with the drinks, he saw another person whom he knew was an important character from the comics and shows. A small girl about half his age with red hair was standing with her father looking at everyone with curious eyes. Bruce would not be able to realize her identity just from her looks, but he recognized the man she was standing with. It was the same detective who was working on Bruce's parents' case, James Gordon. The girl standing with him was most probably the detective's daughter, Barbara Gordon. Hey Bruce. I was looking for you. I wanted to personally apologize to you for not being able to punish Joe Chill according to the law for what he did to your family, he said with a hint of genuine regret in his voice. It's okay, Detective Gordon. After all, he did receive punishment. His life, in return for the lives of my parents, although I have to say that the trade wasn't that fair, Bruce said with a sad smile. Revenge doesn't heal your wounds, Bruce. I admit that losing your loved ones do birth that feeling in most people. I would probably be as angry as you if not more if this had happened to me, but we still have to learn to move past our grudges. Otherwise the fire of our hatred can burn us as well. Your parents were heroes of Gotham. Their loss was a big one that Gotham would suffer for years. I just hope that you stand with it in its time of need, Gordon said as he sighed. My parents were not heroes. They were simply businessmen doing their business, Bruce answered as he picked up a glass filled with soda into his hands from the table. A hero can be anyone, Bruce. Your parents were more heroes than you can imagine, Jim said as he suddenly smiled to disperse the heavy mood. Anyways, meet my daughter, Barbara Gordon. She is my only daughter since my late wife passed away. I brought her here for a change of air. I don't get a lot of time to spend with her, so I brought her with me, he said proudly as he placed his hand on her daughter's shoulder. You brought your daughter to a funeral to spend time with her? Bruce asked, wondering how busy and desperate the detective really was. I was desperate. Gordon pursed his lips together as he smiled sadly at his own situation. Bruce looked at the young girl listening to their conversation intently and smiled at her while saying, You know your father is a really good man. Take care of him. This city is really lucky to have someone as honest and hardworking as him. HMHM, the little girl nodded as she agreed to Bruce's words, smiling at him, happy that someone was praising her dad. Good girl. Bruce smiled and patted the little girl's head, also taking the chance to pinch her fluffy cheeks after noticing how cute she was. We'll have to go now, Bruce. I am afraid this is as long as I can stay and talk to you without some wild reporter clicking a photo of us and posting it tomorrow at the front of a newspaper stating that a detective was seen taking bribes from the Prince of Gotham. Jim laughed at his own joke. Yeah, that is very much possible, so I won't stop you. But please bring little Barbara here to the manor sometime if she ever feels bored. You are both welcome here. Plus, I would be glad to host a little princess like her in my home. Bruce said as he smiled at the little girl who giggled back. Of course. See you later, Bruce. Gordon said as he walked towards the exit gate with her daughter in tow. Bye, Prince, Barbara shouted to him in her childish voice as she waved at him. Bruce of course waved back. Look at that. I met another important character today and made a favorable impression on her at the same time. All in a day's work. He thought as he sipped his drink relaxingly. The entire funeral was quite successful for Bruce. He mostly got what he wanted through it. He was able to not only meet a lot of people, but also get a basic idea of Gotham's current political and economic condition and structure after his parents' deaths. Gotham was rapidly changing after the Wayne incident, a change that was for the worse. The investments and political moves that his family used to make were now absent, letting all the criminal and corrupt organizations grow without a check. The crime families were getting bigger with bolder investments and operations, now that the biggest supporter of peace was absent from the game. The position of mayor that his father was fighting for was now believed to be Aubrey James, since there was almost no other good politician who could compete with him. Many of his different competitors had also taken the chance to one-up Wayne Corporation as they bid for projects or entered into industries directly against Wayne due to an absence of strong leadership at the company as well as dwindling share prices. Even the government seemed to have benefited from his parents' deaths, as they had silently taken over some assets and projects related to his company in the name of national security and interests. It's almost like most of these people wanted them dead. A lot of them even seemed quite happy from their expressions. Bruce said to Alfred after the funeral ended and everyone left. That's regrettably true, young master. Many of these people had interests that didn't match with your parents. Some of them were even outright their enemies. But look at them now. They are so happy thinking that they have won the battle. Sigh, don't worry, young master. We will have our chance as well. We will rise again. Alfred sighed heavily, looking at the last of the people leaving through the gates. Yeah, I agree. They were the most shameless liars I have ever seen. Even the people from the orphanage didn't use to lie through their teeth like they did. These bunches were probably the most pompous, arrogant-looking fools I have ever seen in my life. Especially that girl, Vicky or whatever her name was. Selina said as she chewed on an apple. Bruce kept a straight face while hearing what Selina said, even though he wanted to laugh. He still couldn't understand how and why the two girls became enemies after meeting each other just once. Let's go inside. It's getting cold. By the way, what do you two want for dinner today? Alfred asked as he laid the two kids towards the mansion door. Ooh, I want that chocolate ice cream sundae again, maybe with more chocolate in it, Selina said excitedly after hearing about food. Bruce just smiled at her antics. He quite liked his new family here. Even though it was a small family for now, he still felt like he belonged here. He didn't feel that lonely anymore. 1 week later. Are you done, Bruce? I still don't see any movement in the screen like you said, Selina remarked as she kept sitting on her spot looking at the computer screen with barely hidden impatience. Bruce had been trying to train her into his personal lab assistant, which wasn't going so well. The only thing she could do to actually help him was with practical data collection or practical tests. In one way, she was his Morty. Almost done, Selina. I just have to integrate the programs and recalibrate the learning matrix while checking if its core commands are responding accurately in all given situations, Bruce said as he ran the debugger and checked all his codes one last time. He had mostly checked all programs individually more than once, but he was still running a last test just as an additional measure before he executes the entire code. After all, he had no wish to make an Ultron because of a small bug in his program or something. And done, he said as he pressed run on the computer, hoping that the program doesn't crash or display an error after he worked for hours upon hours to write all of it. The screen on his computer displayed a loading screen where it began to list all the assets and programs it was combining, showing the percentage of the integration in real time. Soon, the screen changed to another one which showed a connecting to wireless networks prompt, followed by an online notification. And that's about it, Bruce said as he noticed at the corner of the screen a small window showing the AI scanning all available networks and platforms for collecting training program data to learn and evolve itself. That's it? So what now? Can we talk about it? Selina asked. Well, general language data should be the first thing it would have downloaded, so yeah, go ahead. Although keep your question simple for now, it needs about another day or two to learn about philosophical stuff, Bruce said as he doubted Selina could ask complex questions on philosophical topics that she herself didn't like or understand. Okay. What is your name? Selina said to the computer as she stared at the screen. I don't have a name right now. But the user can provide me a name if the user wishes. An androgynous voice responded, realizing the question was directed towards it due to the cameras placed all over the cave. What should we name her? Selena asked, turning towards Bruce. How about something simple like Cortana? Bruce said, smiling as he remembered the famous smart AI from Halo that he based his own AI program on. That's a brilliant name. Your name is Cortana from now on. Selena said, thinking about how cute yet techy the name sounded. Bruce had already programmed Selena and Alfred into the AI's database as users with level access to it, he himself possessing the only A-level access, which was the highest level of access to it. So not getting any rejection from Bruce, it accepted the name instantly. Okay, I'll take the name Cortana from now on. Thank you for naming me. Cortana said in a robotic voice, as it still hadn't learned much about different emotions and how to show them. Now for the most important question, Selena said with intense seriousness on her face. Cortana, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream? It took Cortana about 3 days to analyze almost all essential data to train itself, like the meaning of different platonic concepts, emotions, their importance, and everything else. It even chose its own gender after learning about its concept. It chose to identify itself as a she, simply because Cortana seemed to her to be a feminine name. She wasn't at her full potential yet due to the lack of data on the internet, but the amount of information and data available was still enough to make her 100 times better than any other artificial intelligence ever developed on Bruce's previous world. It could be said that Cortana right now was at the childhood stage of what she could truly be one day. She had even simulated an image of herself of what she currently perceived herself to be as a young girl on the computer screen to make it easy and more comfortable for Bruce and the others to communicate with her. Bruce had programmed her to be a very polite, honest, and caring person with a good sense of humor, and she was exactly that, although the last trait would probably need time to develop since her current humor only included bad dad jokes which only Alfred found funny. Selena was also extremely happy with Cortana as she regarded the AI as her new best girlfriend, since both of them liked the same flavor of ice cream, which was chocolate. Of course, Bruce didn't remind Selena that Cortana had never even eaten ice cream, and her answer was just a way for the AI to appear more polite and humane to her. Bruce was quite happy with his new creation right now. Truthfully, even he didn't completely understand how exactly he had created Cortana. He had just concentrated on his ability to show him how to make an AI that was as good if not better than most AIs he had seen in fiction, including Ultron and Jarvis from Marvel, Cortana from Halo, Red Queen from Resident Evil, and even the AI from that movie Eagle Eye. His Cortana was the combination of all of them, although much different from them, as he was sure that she would never betray him or go against him later, because that was the core of what he had wanted in his AI and what he had willed his ability to base Cortana on. Her entire existence and purpose was to serve, help, and protect Bruce. Everything else came later. Bruce's life was going pretty well after his transmigration. But just when he thought that almost everything was going his way, Murphy's Law hit him like a speeding bullet train. The one thing that he dreaded, the one place that he had sworn never to visit again in his life, was calling him back, and he had no way to defend himself. His easy life was on the verge of being ruined. Alfred, I am not going back there. You might as well send me there in a body bag than expect me to go there on my own. I am never going to go back to that hell, Bruce said, gulping as he remembered his last experience in that place. Young Master Bruce, please stop referring to your school as hell. And as I said before, you have to go to school to receive your education. You can't just sit at home all day like some spoiled child. You and Selena are both going there, and I want no more arguments, Alfred said strictly. It's a waste of time. A bunch of people running around bumping into each other. Got a guy up front says, 2 + 2, and the people in the back say 4. Then the bell rings and they give you a carton of milk and a piece of paper that says you can go take a dump or something. I mean, it's not a place for smart people, Alfred. I know that's not a popular opinion, but that's my 2 cents on the issue. So I don't need to go to school to be smart. I can get homeschooled for God's sake, Bruce defended. Maybe Master Bruce, but you need to go to school for being a proper part of the social hierarchy and be a functioning human being. You need to be around people right now to get back to society, and so does Selena. Homeschooling can't give you that, Alfred calmly replied. To be fair, I hate going to school as well. But I think it might be important for you, Tiger, if Alfred is insisting on the issue, Selena said from the sides as she turned towards Bruce. You too, Kitty? Bruce said with an expression that seemed to say that Selena just betrayed him. Present schooling system, although said to be not perfect, can result in the development of human behavior and result in higher functioning of a human in society in most cases. Cortana chimed in from the computer with a metallic female voice. And I was silly enough to believe in her loyalty and to always have my back in my arguments. I think I would have to teach the meaning of that concept to her later, Bruce said jokingly as he looked at her female image on the computer, looking at him with a confused expression, like she didn't know what she said wrong. Fine, I will go to school, but I have a condition, Bruce said as he looked at Alfred. Sure, young Master Bruce, I am sure that we can arrange whatever we want. Sports cars, toys, more machine components, whatever you wish, Alfred said, happy that he could give something to Bruce to entice him to go to school and stop this useless childish argument. Oh no, I don't need more tools. What Wayne Corporations is sending us is more than enough for almost everything I am going to work on in the near future. What I want is a combat trainer. I want to be trained in martial combat and weapons usage by experts during my free hours, as well as access to company decisions with you approving them as my guardian, and in return, I will try to go to school at least 3 days a week. Bruce offered. 5 days, registered experts with non-lethal weapons only, and you will only get access to one company to influence under my guidance. Alfred countered, thinking that Bruce getting some early experience in business with some small unimportant Wayne company would not be a bad thing for the conglomerate in the long run, especially since he was going to take over it one day after all. Okay, 5 days, but lethal weapons should be allowed for practice under the guidance of the trainers and access to 2 companies, one dealing with software and one dealing in capital investments, Bruce said, desperately bargaining. Sigh, fine. Sometimes I really think that you would be the death of me, young master. Anyways, I'll inform the school board about your returning to school for Monday, as well as contact the company board to see if they have any spare subsidiaries lying around concerning those 2 industries you mentioned that you can take over with me as your parent. Alfred said as he turned to leave, but then remembered something and turned towards Selena. And you, Selena, is there something you want? Selena was confused. She didn't know what she wanted. She didn't even think she would ever have what she currently had. So anything more than this was just a luxury for her. Since Bruce is learning those stuff, can I learn them with him? They sounded fun. Also, I always wanted to learn gymnastics. I always loved it when I saw those women on TV bending their bodies in weird ways like nothing. Selena said doubtfully after thinking for a while. She didn't know if she had requested more than she should. She wasn't even sure that she should bargain with Alfred like Bruce just did. Okay, Selena. I'll make sure to contact a high-level professional gymnast for you to learn from. Alfred didn't even try to bargain with Selena at all, as he just accepted her request. Sexist. Bruce muttered in his mind, seeing Alfred's even gentler treatment toward Selena. Yeah. Selena clapped happily. It seemed like Selena would become a Catwoman with a flexible body, no matter what Bruce did to change her fate. It almost seemed like it was her destiny. Although I can eventually enjoy that flexible body one day. Bruce smirked to himself as he went back to working on the drone he was working on, leaving Selena to wonder about the reason for that happy smirk on Bruce's face. He was currently working on different types of drones for information gathering from all over the city. He was too young to be Batman and fight crime on the streets, so right now he was going to build his power. He knew about the term, knowledge is power, and he agreed with it. He wanted to collect as much information and knowledge about everyone and everything in the city as he could. Cortana could easily observe and control any technology connected to the internet out there, as she had almost unrestricted access to it, but what about the places without any gadgets connected to the web? What about the more sensitive information? Bruce was going to collect those types of intel through the drones he was making. Originally, he wanted to make bat-shaped drones to go with the entire theme, as he had already fallen prey to the obsession with keeping everything bat-themed after he first named his Muty proto-tool as Bat-Tool. But he quickly figured out that bat-shaped drones, while pretty good for dark areas or nighttime surveillance, wasn't as good during the daytime or for areas with too much light. So he was also designing drones shaped like spiders, pigeons, and even mosquitoes along with bats. He was going all out with perfecting his surveillance drone technology to make sure that every corner of the city could be viewed by him whenever he wanted by the time criminals like Joker, Riddler, or Penguin rose in power. Right now, most of those identities didn't even exist or were just starting their criminal career somewhere, and Bruce wasn't that big of a fan of DC to know about all their secret identities or histories or even remember about most villains of Batman. He only knew about the most famous ones from the movies and some animated shows that he had watched back when he was young. So he could not send an exploding package to their homes to kill them before they even become criminals, although he would like to do that very much. He wasn't a psycho to kill every bad guy he came across. He could just send some of the criminals who could be redeemed to a coma or just break their spine forever, but he wasn't going to kill every one of them. He would only kill those psychotic and truly evil ones that really deserved it, like Joker, or maybe Two-Face or Bane or Savage or Luthor or... Okay, that's a long list. Wait, maybe I should actually keep a list and maybe even plan how to kill them. Natural deaths would be the perfect way, since that way I would not only get to keep Batman's non-killing image and not get in conflict with the cops or the other heroes, but also the criminals would underestimate me. Wow, I am a genius. Bruce thought as he quickly began to devise the best ways to kill criminals in a non-suspecting manner while crackling madly in his cave. He knows that I am still here, and I can hear him laughing like a maniac, right? But he still sounds really cute for some reason. Selina muttered while standing at the entrance of the cave, wondering just how and why she finds someone this geeky and crazy cute. Do we really need to do this, Alfred? I am pretty sure that this is going to be a waste of time. Bruce said, hating the idea of returning to the very place he had once vowed never to return in his previous life. Here is your bag, young Master Bruce, and here is your Selina. I have packed your lunchboxes in your bags, since I don't trust the sanitary process of cafeterias. I'll be back to fetch you too when school ends. Have fun. Alfred said, completely ignoring Bruce's complaint. Truthfully, it wasn't even the butler's fault. Bruce had been constantly complaining the entire way from their mansion to school. At one point in time, even Selina had gotten a little annoyed at his complaints, but Bruce just couldn't help it. He was ready to fight with psychotic villains and godly invaders from space, but going back to school was something he didn't want to do, especially after the experience in his previous life. In his last life, Bruce was just an ordinary guy who was a victim of severe bullying by some rich kids because he looked way more handsome than them and was also smarter than them. He had tried complaining to the authorities, but none of the teachers had listened to him. He had to suffer his entire school life silently tolerating everything and just wishing that people would leave him alone. He wanted to take revenge against those people by working hard and attaining enough power and influence to go against them. But before he could succeed in that, he was killed by a retarded Batman fanatic, just because he said Batman wasn't a real superhero since he didn't have any power except planning. God, I shouldn't have gone to that Comic-Con. Damn, trying to shake hands with Elizabeth Olsen. I wasn't even able to see her in that crowd, much less shake hands with her. He thought, regretting his past life's stupid decisions. Let's go, Tiger, Selina said as she took Bruce's hands and dragged him with her before he could complain again. Easy for you to say, Kitty. I am sure that you will be popular and become one of those plastic girls that everyone fears. Bruce muttered. He was in a state of frustrating regret and slowly followed after her into the hell that was filled with screaming and scheming little monsters. The moment the duo entered the school lobby, almost all eyes turned toward them. However, instead of saying anything or paying any attention to them, they just continued doing what they were doing. Bruce and Selina walked straight up to the principal's office, and nobody tried to mess with them or directed any weird stares at them or even whispered mean things about them. They simply did not care and were just busy talking with each other and having fun like a bunch of regular kids. At that moment, Bruce suddenly realized something in his mind after observing the behavior of the children around him. They are kids, of course. I am such an idiot. Why the hell would 8-year-olds try to bully others? This isn't high school, it's barely middle school. These children are still innocent. Plus, I am no longer the same poor and ordinary powerless kid I was way back then. Although maybe bringing the bat tool to the school wasn't such a good decision. Bruce thought, slapping his own head for getting confused between the behaviors of high school kids and 8-year-old kids. His fear and frustration almost disappeared instantly as he realized it. He was carefree now because he realized that he didn't need to be on his guard here, at least not any more than he usually is. This school still hasn't become the hell it one day will become when those children grow up into their toxic teenage selves. Bruce and Selina went to the first class on their routine before the teacher came and took their seats beside each other. They already considered each other best friends, so they always sat together, no matter where. Hey Bruce, you came to school. I thought you would enjoy your holidays a few more days. A happy and familiar childish voice sounded from behind Bruce and Selina. Vicky, nice to see you again. Yes, I guess I grew tired of just sitting at home all day, so I thought, why not meet with one of my favorite friends back at school? Bruce said, looking at Vicky with some surprise hidden in his eyes. He had no idea that Vicky was in the same class as him. He didn't even know that she was a student at the same school. He had just said all that to charm Vicky, although he had forgotten that Vicky was an 8-year-old girl who did not even realize accurately what flirting really is. But weren't you the one who said that you hated school? Selena muttered, confused at the sudden change in Bruce's behavior. Oh, hi there, Selena, right? I almost didn't notice you. You seem to have grown a little fat since the last time I saw you. Vicky threw a quip at Selena. Oh, burn, Bruce smiled at Vicky's quip, but his smile instantly disappeared once he looked at Selena's rageful expression. And you seem to have grown a bit more masculine. Maybe you are trying to stand true to your name. Selena also bit back. Girls. I think you two should stop fighting and arguing with each other every time you meet. This is getting annoying for me. If you are going to argue with each other all the time, then do it when I am not there. Bruce said dominantly like an adult to make sure they knew how serious he was. He was getting bored because every time these two met, they would pass the entire time just fighting like two little daddy's princesses. The worst thing was that the two didn't even know why they were exactly fighting. But she started it, Selena complained with a small pout. I don't care. From now on both of you can't argue or fight in front of me. If you do, I'll sit far from you two where I won't be able to hear both of your annoying banter. Bruce said as he looked at both Selena and Vicky. He knew that the two girls considered him as one of their best friends, and they wanted to stay near him like kids their age normally do when they are friends, so he used that opportunity to blackmail them into not arguing with each other. Fine. Both the girls said at the same time as they took their places beside Bruce. Selena sat at his right, while Vicky sat at his left. Wish I was this smooth and lucky with girls in my last life. Bruce thought to himself as he looked at the two girls' happy expressions at being able to sit with him. The first class was a breeze for Bruce. In fact, all the classes Bruce attained were very easy for him for obvious reasons. He right now was smart enough to probably go toe-to-toe with some of the most intelligent geniuses on the planet, so school for him was absolutely useless. He was only attending school due to the benefits Alfred promised him. Vicky and Selena looked bored as well for completely different reasons. They barely listened to anything the teacher said and concentrated more on glaring at each other, which soon turned into a game of who blinks first. Bruce just smiled at their antics as he realized that they really were just children. After half of the classes for the day were over, the trio went to the cafeteria for lunch. All three of them had brought their own lunch boxes from home. Of course, as usual, Alfred had gone overhill and packed Bruce and Selena a 4-course gourmet meal in overly decorative boxes. However, Vicky's lunch looked luxurious and over the top as well due to the fact that her family was also quite rich since her father was a really famous and successful reporter in the Gotham News Network. I think I should buy out some news channels and newspapers early on so that I can influence how the media shows my image to the general public when I put on the cape in the future. Bruce thought as he took a bite of his lunch cooked by professional chefs under Alfred's strict management. Hello, can I sit here? All the other seats are either full or really dirty. A confident-sounding female voice asked the three. Looking at the small figure, Bruce noticed that it was another girl their age, but quite different from the others. She was emitting a unique aura of coldness and confidence like some sort of princess. "Yes, sure, go ahead," Bruce said after both girls had looked at him like he was their leader or something. "Thanks," she said as she sat down with her black premium-looking lunchbox. "I know you. You are from our class, aren't you? Helena, right?" Vicky asked like a curious little girl. Bruce wondered if he had heard about that name before in his previous life. It sounded really familiar for some reason. Bruce used his mind to its full extent trying to remember where he had heard about her. Sadly, the photographic memory skill that came with his innate ability only worked on his memories from this new life after he had attained the skill. It didn't really make remembering the memories from his previous life any easier. "Yes. I am," the girl spoke only 3 words before becoming silent once again. "You don't talk much, do you?" Selena asked with a smirk. "If I wanted to talk, I would have sat with the bigger groups of children shouting there, not with you 3, Helena answered back frostily. "You know, if you didn't want to talk, you could have just said so. No need to talk rudely with us. It doesn't matter how amazing your daddy is or even how important you are at your home. We are not your servants and you can't talk to us like that. If you are gonna abuse our goodwill, then you can try to find another place to sit," Bruce said, annoyed with the girl's self-important way of acting. Helena couldn't answer anything as she just stared at him in surprise at his upfront way of speaking, while Selena and Vicky just nodded like they completely agreed with Bruce. "You are right. I should not have said that or behaved like that. It was my fault. I was just a little worried about my family earlier. I am sorry," Helena said as she looked at him with apologetic eyes. "It's okay, Helena. Just make sure that it doesn't happen again. We don't say stuff like that to each other, especially when we are friends," Bruce said as he smiled at Helena, forgiving her for her behavior earlier. Helena nodded seriously, making it clear that she understood. "Oh, by the way, I think we should introduce ourselves. I am Wayne, Bruce Wayne. This is Selena Kyle, and this is Vicky Vale." Bruce introduced all three of them. "Hi. I am Helena Bertinelli. Nice to meet you." She introduced herself with a small smile. "Bertinelli? Wait, the Bertinelli crime family? Shit, so that's where I had heard her name before. She is the daughter of the leader of the Bertinelli crime family, one of the strongest crime families in Gotham. Also, she was the famous future Gotham vigilante huntress." He thought as he looked at her with an impassive face. At that moment, Bruce wondered to himself if he had some sort of protagonist aura to attract all the important beautiful females of the plot towards himself at such an early stage. Maybe he even had the legendary protagonist halo, but then he immediately dismissed the silly idea at the next moment, because he was sure that he wasn't that lucky. It turned out that Helena was quite a friendly and kind-hearted girl, just somewhat frustrated for some reason, probably the effect of the criminal relatives in her family. She had quickly become friends with Bruce and the other two girls after talking with them for some time in the cafeteria. She didn't mention anything about her family to them, but that didn't stop Vicky from inquiring about it, which Helena skillfully dodged. Helena was a lot more mature than Selena, or even Vicky. So it was quite easy for Bruce to converse with her. By the time school ended that day, the trio had become a quartet, although Bruce wasn't ever going to call their group that since it sounded really weird. "So, did you two have fun?" Alfred asked after school ended as Selena and Bruce went to him standing at the school gate with their car. "No," Bruce said simply as he went directly inside the car to sit. Yes, he wasn't bored at school as he was able to talk with Selena and Vicky, and later even Helena all day, even though they talked like little girls, which they were. But it didn't mean that he enjoyed school. Enjoy was a very strong word. "He did," Selena whispered to Alfred with a cheeky smile. Bruce was able to hear her, but didn't respond. He was too lazy to argue with her. He just wanted to go home and work on his drones. He had sworn that once his drones were complete, he would use them first to find out about some of Alfred's secrets so that he could blackmail the butler into agreeing with him to not go to school. But again, that would be difficult. Alfred was the most savage and Sigma male he had ever seen. Bruce doubted that the butler would even care if he found out any of his dirty secrets. The entire way to their home, Selena explained to Alfred about their newest friendship with Helena, as well as her rivalry with Vicky, while Bruce just remained quiet. "This Helena girl, is her full name Helena Bertinelli?" Alfred asked with a frown. "Yes, do you know her?" Selena asked. "Yes, indeed I do. Her family is quite famous in Gotham. Did you approach her, or did she approach you?" Alfred asked with concern in his voice. "It's not what you think, Alfred. She didn't try to get close to us because of her family or anything. She was just an interesting girl, so we decided to befriend her. As for her family, I indeed know who they are and what they do, but you don't have to worry. Her family probably doesn't even know about her being friends with us, and I don't think she is going to tell either. She only seemed to truly like her siblings amongst all her family members," Bruce said quickly before Selena could answer. He didn't want Alfred to have a wrong idea about Helena, because she genuinely seemed like a good girl if he were to exclude her coldness and attitude that was drilled into her by her family. "I see. I'll trust your choice of companions, then, young master. However, remember, trust is something that should be earned, not given. Your parents were too trusting. I don't want you to make the same mistake," Alfred said, somewhat hinting at his suspicion that he thought that there was more to the Wayne murder than just a simple mugging gone wrong. "You are quite right, Alfred. You are quite right," Bruce said as he looked outside the car window. He didn't trust most people he met in this crazy world. The only people he trusted were the people he knew were honest from his previous life's knowledge, and who also appeared loyal to him in this reality as well. After they reached home, Bruce went straight to continue working on his drone project again, after freshening up. He had too many models in his plan of getting an eye everywhere on the entirety of Gotham. He had no time to rest. The first phase in his long-term plan of being the perfect Bruce was the intel phase, where he would have access to and control over all intel in Gotham, as well as have information about things all over the country, and maybe even the world in due time. Data was the new oil after all. Wait, now that he thought about it, he could also weaponize these drones as well. Some laser projectors, blasters, mini-missile launchers, and holographic projection technologies would enable them to not only be capable enough to hide or defend themselves, but also help him in battle when the time came as well. After most of the drone models were more or less designed, only then would Bruce move on to other projects. He was planning to work on some bio-strengthening projects after this, like cyberware, BioWare, or every nerd's wet dream, super serums that create super soldiers and superpowered beings. With his power that could create anything even remotely possible by science, he would be able to create most of the technological wonders he had seen in fiction in his last life. The only thing he needed for that was time and knowledge, which he would have plenty of both. After all, he was the richest kid on Earth and still wasn't even in his teens yet. Although I wonder, would my powers work on the more supernatural machines like the Mother Box, or maybe the World Engine or Lantern Rings, or perhaps Asgardian technologies, which were said to be both science and magic in a way? Would my powers work on magic at all? Like, could I analyze or understand them with my powers, or build magical artifacts or objects that I had seen before in fiction? Bruce thought. He didn't think he could. But I should still at least try one day if I ever get some magical knowledge, because right now I know nothing about magic other than the correct spelling and pronunciation of the word. Bruce thought. He had already tried to focus and see if his ability could tell him how to make a dividing gear or a boosted gear, but he felt nothing. Not even a headache like he commonly had whenever he tried to direct his ability to show him how to make some world-ending weapon. "Master Bruce," Alfred whispered from behind. "God damn it. Shit, Alfred, can you not sneak up on me like Selena? I almost had a heart attack. I got to put some sort of alarm sensor on the doors before I die of surprise," Bruce said, wondering how it would sound to people if they heard that Batman died of a heart attack because somebody sneaked up on him and surprised the life out of him. "It's not our fault, Master Bruce. You get deeply concentrated and focused whenever you are working on something. It doesn't matter what we do to try to declare our presence. You always get surprised," Alfred said with a straight face. Bruce had a fleeting suspicion in his mind that perhaps Alfred wanted to surprise him like Selena, but then the butler was also speaking the truth. Bruce does get overly focused and detached from his surroundings every time he uses his ability, which was a serious nerf for him in a combative situation. He didn't want to get defeated or die because he was too focused on analyzing a machine than keeping track of his surroundings. His giving full attention and focus to a single objective was detrimental to him in a fight in the real world. "I was here to give you these. They are some of the professionals I shortlisted for your combat training. All the important information and data on them are already there, including their achievements, specialties, and qualifications. I made sure that they were genuine. You should have the last decision to choose who should teach you. After all, you seem determined on learning how to fight and defend yourself," Alfred said as he sympathetically looked at Bruce. Alfred agreed with Bruce receiving combat training this easily because he thought that Bruce was afraid of people attacking him after the incident, and he wanted training to cope with that. The butler even blamed himself partly for not being there to save the Wayne couple or protect Bruce that night. So he also wanted to make sure that Bruce would never have to face that type of situation ever again in his life, and this self-defense training was a good way to make sure of that. "Thanks, Alfred. What about Selena? Did you give her choices as well concerning her gymnastics teacher?" Bruce asked as he looked at the dozen thin blue files with different names on each of them. "Yes, but she said, and I quote, 'I am too hungry to read right now. Please choose whoever the best you think is for me, Alfred.' So I did. I got her an Olympic-level gymnast teacher who only teaches students interested in participating in the Olympics, as well as a yoga instructor who was a well-renowned yoga guru before but started to work in a circus for some reason after a back injury," Alfred said with a small smile. "Oh," Bruce said. He had forgotten how rich and powerful they were. Hiring the best, most expensive and premium teachers in the country, or even the world, wasn't a very big deal for them. "Anyways, I'll look at the files and tell you the person or persons I want to hire for my training," Bruce said as he opened the first file to see if he was someone worth hiring. "Okay, Master. Call me when you have decided or if you need anything," Alfred said as he slowly turned back and left. "Let's see, Oliver Lee Thompson. 3 times international judo champion with 5 years of paramilitary training. Pretty good. I guess he could be good as a close combat martial art teacher," Bruce said, already impressed. Next, Safir Nikolai, 4 times Olympics gold medal winner in 50-meter men's shooting event. Served 10 years in the military as a sniper. Very, very impressive," Bruce thought as he looked over every file and tried to get an idea about their rough qualification and overall achievements. But it was only the last file that surprised him. Richard Dragon, professional martial art trainer. Unarmed combat expert. No military service. Certified archaeologist and adventurer. Winner of Japan International Jiu-Jitsu Competition. Winner of World Wushu Championship in Chinese Kung Fu. Gold medal winner in World Kung Fu Championship. Bruce was stunned. He could not believe what he had just read. He knew about Richard Dragon. He was perhaps one of the most famous martial artists in DC, who trained the majority of Gotham vigilantes. He was one of the best martial artists out there. Only a few people like Lady Shiva or Karate Kid were able to match him. I want him, no question, Bruce said. He did not know how or why Richard Dragon's name was in these files, but he needed him to be his teacher. That was his first step to be potentially better than even Batman, as the original Bruce Wayne wasn't trained by Richard. If he was, then Bruce would probably eat villains like Bane for breakfast. Richard was that good, especially if he is ready to teach him how to use chi. Although I still have to find a teacher for more modern weapons like guns and stuff, I still think my future is suddenly looking very bright now. Who knows, I might even be as good as Karate Kid under his training. Bruce thought as he daydreamed about him knocking out Kryptonians with karate chops. Unknown POV. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Since all of us are already here, we should officially start the meeting. A man in a suit wearing a golden owl mask said as he entered a room with a dozen people wearing white owl masks sitting around a luxurious big table. There were also about half a dozen people wearing black skin-tight body armor and weird black owl masks, looking like monsters guarding the doors of the room. All of the attendees said nothing as they just nodded at the man's words. As all of you know, some days ago we were successful in eliminating the biggest hurdle in our path, Thomas Wayne, after he denied our invitation to the court and threatened to expose us to the public. Although we had decided to eliminate the entire Wayne family, the person we used to complete this job failed to kill the youngest member of the family, Bruce Wayne. We had let him live after confirming that he had lost his memories to amnesia and was no threat to our plan. But a few days ago I was informed that he was able to recognize the face of the person we used to complete the job, indicating that he had either gotten his memories back or he had never lost them in the first place. Now, rest assured, I have made sure that the man we used to kill the Wayne couple died the same day in police custody before he could reveal anything about us. But the main topic of discussion today is what to do with Bruce Wayne. The man with the golden eagle mask, who seemed to be in charge, asked as he looked at the people sitting around the table. I think he is no danger to us. He is just a spoiled little innocent boy. I doubt he knows anything of value about us or the incident. Also, if he does become a problem later on, we can always just remove him and make it look like an accident. A woman with an owl mask on said carelessly. What do you think, Mr. 12th? You are one of the board of directors at Wayne Industries. So you might have an idea about the boy, right? The golden owl mask-wearing leader asked as he looked at another man at the table. I agree with Miss Fifth. I think Bruce Wayne is just a spoiled kid. According to my intel, he is just a kid who doesn't even like to go to school and just lazes in his room all day. He is extremely antisocial and is just wasting his family's fortune by donating expensive research equipment to charity as part of his Martha Wayne Foundation efforts. The pipsqueak even thinks that he can run a company at his age, as his little caretaker had the galls to request the board to hand over control of a company that is not doing well to him to practice his leadership and business skills. The man laughed smugly as he said his piece. Also, the League of Assassins would like you to leave that boy alone as well. This was a request, directly from the demon's head. That boy might be important to our plans. We hope that you can respect this small request of ours. A man with a similar white owl mask, but with a different demeanor than the rest of the members present, said as he seemed to look directly into the leader's eyes like he was threatening him. I see. It is decided then. We will leave Bruce Wayne alone for now, unless he becomes a thorn in our side in the future. The leader said with an expressionless voice as he didn't react to the members' thinly veiled threat. None of the other members there did. The League of Assassins might be extremely strong, but the Court of Owls wasn't a pushover. It had its own power and fighters. It didn't want to directly make the League an enemy, but it also wouldn't cower in fear if it ever came to a fight. Now on to more important matters. The recent political and criminal hierarchy of Gotham City is undergoing a major change. The question is, do we actively take part in it, or do we leave them to their fate and let things play out naturally, and then vaguely influence the winners of this battle royale for our benefit in the future? The leader asked as he looked around the table. This prestigious organization was established to control Gotham and put its members at the top of the economic class of the city. Involving ourselves with criminals and petty politicians directly will be degrading to not only our image, but also the image of the organization. I think we should just let things play out and support or recruit the winners into our outer circles. A different man spoke out from the end of the table with a gruff voice. Thank you for expressing your view, Mr. Third. So, all in favor of not involving ourselves with the political and criminal underground turmoil in the city, please raise your hands. The leader said in a raised voice. All the hands around the table went up at the call for a vote. It is decided then. We won't interfere in the city politics and underworld for a few years until things cool down. Now that all of the more important topics are done, let's move on to our businesses. The leader said as he began to discuss the other different projects and business-related opportunities, some of them even directly related to them taking some business away from Wayne Enterprises. They were drawing up a rough plan for how they were going to grow their own companies and strengthen the court while making sure to weaken and slowly drain projects and contracts away from Wayne Enterprises. In their eyes, the once mighty company was already gone due to the recent death of its most important leaders. It was only a matter of time before the company crumbled without powerful leadership under the court's combined pressure. Bruce Wayne POV. How could they do this? They know that I am the largest single-person shareholder of the company, right? Bruce asked angrily as he looked at the official document in Alfred's hands. Yes, they very much do, young master. But sadly, most of the members of the board of directors think that you are too young to be involved in company operations at this age. So they are legally making sure that you, even with my permission as your guardian, can't get involved in the administrative duties of the company. They even got a governmental permit using their connections with the excuse that you are too immature and young to be involved in intricate company dealings. Alfred said with a hint of anger leaking from his tone. Bruce was really angry. The one thing he had no shortage of was being taken away from him. Although he would still have full access to all his liquid assets and personal properties, as well as the 2 foundations under his name, Wayne Enterprises would completely be out of his reach. This would mean that a lot of resources and influence he would be getting for free would now no longer be available to him until he came of age. He knew that this was probably done by his enemies, someone with huge power and influence, even more than the Wayne families. However, this was also controlled his board of directors as well, since without the company board agreeing to it, this wouldn't have been possible. The worst thing about this was that he couldn't do anything about this. Right now he lacked enough influence, connections, and power to fight against this decision. He couldn't even sell off his shares in the company, since that wasn't allowed until he was an adult under the eyes of the law. The only help he would get from the company was the annual dividend, which he was free to use any way he saw fit. Normally, any person would be extremely happy with this, since the dividend alone was in hundreds of millions each year, but Bruce wasn't. He needed Wayne Enterprises' huge access to resources and global connections to achieve his goal faster. This new development would slow down his plans. After all, there was a difference of power between a person having $1 billion in cash and a person having $1 billion company under him. What about the request you had for them? Would they be willing to let me take control of at least one company? Bruce asked, hopeful that he could still milk this somehow. Sadly, no. They were adamant about not letting you even near the company. However, I was able to make a deal with them. They, although would not allow you a single company to manage, would however consider selling you one if provided the market valuation for the company. They had given me a list of which companies you would be allowed to purchase. Alfred said as he passed Bruce a thin bundle of papers. As Bruce looked at his own companies that he would be able to purchase from himself, he felt his teeth clench in anger. Those businessmen were blatantly robbing him. They were not only taking advantage of him but also mocking him in a way. These people were the same parasites that his parents had helped or worked with once upon a time. The worst part of this all was that Bruce could not fight this off, at least not legally, since he was too young and underage to almost do anything concerning his rights to his own company. There were several companies that Wayne Enterprises were ready to sell to him. However, the ones that caught his eye were Wayne Capital, an ailing capital investment company, and Wayne Entertainment, a movie and music production company that wasn't doing well at all for the last few years, making more flops in a year than it had hits in the last decade, and finally Wayne Electronics, a subsidiary that made consumer electronics for the general public, but was struggling and making huge losses due to direct competition from Queen Industries, as well as its Japanese and Chinese competitors. How many of these can we buy? Bruce asked Alfred, sounding like he was talking about buying watches and not entire companies. They wouldn't sell more than 2 or 3 companies, since they would still have to answer to the other shareholders. The main areas of business for Wayne Enterprises have always been medical, pharma, food, heavy industries, energy, and weapons development. Selling 2 or 3 of these loss-making subsidiaries wouldn't affect their public image at all, Alfred said as he informed Bruce. Now the main question. How much money do we have in personal accounts? Can I even afford to buy one of them? Bruce asked as he looked at Alfred's displeased face. Unfortunately, your parents normally didn't keep liquid assets much. Some ranches, international residential properties, and houses are all bought as fixed assets under their name. As for liquid assets, you only currently have about $2 billion. Alfred said with a bit of regret. Bruce was almost heartbroken. Each of these companies would cost about double or triple that, even though they are all loss-making ones being sold to him at market value. However, the 2 foundations do have some money that we can use since we have complete control of them, Alfred asked as he looked at Bruce like he remembered something. How many liquid assets do they have? Bruce asked without much hope. Not a lot. About 35 billion in cash and bonds. Alfred asked after thinking for a moment. You couldn't have told me about it sooner. And I was almost worried that we had money problems. Bruce sighed as he relaxed. He was ultra-rich again, as the money in the 2 foundations under him would alone make him the richest person in his previous world in this era. Well, your parents were always extremely charitable, Alfred said as he seemed to grow nostalgic with a smile on his face. Whatever. Inform the board members that we will be buying Wayne Entertainment, Wayne Electronics, and Wayne Capital from them. Buy it under the foundation's name since I don't want this. I am too young to manage a company, fiasco to repeat. Oh, and also make sure that we complete this entire process as silently and quickly as we can. Bruce ordered. Sure, young master, it will be done, Alfred said as he nodded and left, determined to not let Bruce down again. The board of directors, huh? They are probably in cahoots with the Court of Owls or some other nefarious organization, since if they were alone they would not have the nerve to do this to me. After all, even they know that once I reach my adult age, I could effortlessly take back control of my company again and easily take revenge against them. I promise you, whoever you guys are messing with me, you will be in a hell of pain soon. Nobody takes my money away from me, nobody. Bruce thought grimly as he clenched his fists tight until they became white and then silently went back to making his drones again. When you guys told me that you live in a mansion, I didn't actually think that it was a real mansion. This is even bigger than my own house, and our house is pretty big, Helena said with awe evident in her voice. Why, thank you. I am glad that you like my humble abode, Bruce said while smiling. He too had the same expression on his face as Helena the first time he saw this manor after his transmigration. By the way, Helena, how come your parents even allowed you to come here? I thought they were very strict and normally don't let you go to other people's homes. Vicky asked like a curious cat. I don't know. After I heard that you guys were going to play together here, I just asked my mother if I could come to play with you guys as well. I thought that she would just say no, like always, but surprisingly she agreed to it. She even said that she would keep it a secret from my father and my other siblings, Helena said with a happy expression on her face. Great. Now, can we start playing? Bruce had a professional scriptwriter prepare a special Dungeons and Dragons game for today. I really want to play it, so let's go, Selena said, wanting to start the game as soon as possible. She was a fellow Dungeons and Dragons fan like Bruce was in his previous life. Of course, it was Bruce who introduced it to her. Playing it just once with Alfred was all it took for her to get addicted to the game. She didn't like playing console games or PC games as much as she liked playing the board game. And she even always chose the rogue or thief class every time. Yeah, let's go, Vicky shouted. She too wanted to play the game since she had never tried it before. Alfred was the dungeon master for the game besides being the official snack supplier as well. The entire game was quite an enjoyable experience for all 4 of them, including Cortana, who was introduced to Vicky and Helena as a friend living in Australia. Bruce had told them that Cortana would also play the game and converse with them through video calling. The girls really liked her on-screen avatar, thinking that it was a real girl cutely sitting behind a computer talking with them. They became friends faster than Bruce could spell top G. They played the game for about 2 hours and still, none of them got bored, they were that hooked. Vicky was a little slow at the game at first, but under the expert tutelage of Bruce and Selena, she became quite good at it by the end. Helena, who was playing as a ranger however, was the hidden dragon among them. Her natural talent was barely beaten by Bruce's skills, even though he had a lot more experience than her due to his previous life. Cortana, on the other hand, didn't seem to try to do her best, otherwise she could have probably beaten all of them very easily because of her capability of doing countless simulations inside her mind in seconds. She just took it slow and let others have their fun as well. It's getting late. I think I should go now. My mother would probably be angry if I didn't go back home in time, Helena said with a sad face, not wanting to stop playing or leave her friends. It's okay, Helena. I think I should go back as well. My father would get worried too if I don't go back soon. Alfred, can you drop me at my home? Vicky asked. Her father was the one who had dropped her here, but she didn't want to pester him again to pick her up as well, so she asked Alfred. Of course, Miss Vicky. It's my duty. Miss Helena, should I drop you as well? Alfred looked at Helena. No, it's okay. My family driver is waiting for me outside. Helena politely refused him. By the way, thank you, Bruce, for the wonderful evening. I'm glad that all of you guys are my friends. You too, Cortana. Helena said, after which she ran to her car parked outside. Bruce couldn't help but smile at this. Although for some reason he seemed a little uncomfortable, like he could feel that something bad was going to happen. His sixth sense, or bat sense, was tingling. Soon, Vicky also left with Alfred to go back to her home. That was enjoyable, Selena said with a small smile still visible on her lips as she watched the two cars slowly fading away in the distance. Yes, it was, Bruce said as the uneasy feeling still lingered within him for some reason. Bruce, I have completed manufacturing 10 initial units of each of the Bat carrier drones, as well as the Generation 1 combat drones you wanted. Should I continue to make the rest of the 100 planned units of the two models? Cortana asked from the screen. She had not only been playing Dungeons & Dragons with all of them, but was also assembling multiple drone units of Bruce's design using her newly made arms that Bruce made for her in the Batcave. Her new arms very much resembled the octopus arms that Dr. Octopus had in the MCU. They were extremely versatile and were the best possible design for assembling and other production purposes. As for why she was making the drones, it was because Bruce simply did not have the time. He had designed one single unit for each of his current 3 models and had uploaded the details and the process to Cortana's database, which she was now using to make multiple drones at an inhumane pace. No. Let's have a field test before you continue. I don't think we ever tested it outside the Wayne Manor. Let's do it now. We can also see if there are any problems concerning limited range or reduced controllability or something, Bruce said as he started walking towards his cave. He had already tested the initial drones he made with the analyzing power of his ability, and hadn't found any problems with their designs, but he wanted to be sure. Field tests are always the best ways to make sure that your machines will never malfunction in times of need. Wait, you are going to test out your drones? Can I come too? Selena asked with pleading eyes. Yeah, sure, Kitty. Bruce instantly agreed as he didn't keep his projects a big secret from Selena and Alfred. They knew about most of his inventions since they came into his cave whenever they wanted, and Bruce never did anything to stop them. Why would he? One normally came to deliver him snacks and the other to talk and play with him. He had always trusted Alfred as he knew that the butler would rather die than even think of harming or even betraying him. As for Selena, she might have the innate traits of a thief, but he knew that she had never stolen anything from him after promising him that night. Also, he trusted her. She might be a wild cat for everyone else, but to him, she would always be his kitty. Let's start. Take control of 3 units of each of the drones, Cortana, and deploy them to the main city, Bruce ordered after he took his seat in front of his computer in his Batcave. As soon as he ordered it, 3 high-tech-looking drones slowly floated up and went towards one of the exits of the cave that opened to a small artificial waterfall on the manor grounds. Similarly, 3 bat-shaped objects, which also had slight traits of an insect if looked closely enough, began to flap their wings rhythmically and slowly floated up and went towards the same direction as the previous drone. Wow, the bats look so real. I mean, the first type was also cool, but the bat one was just too real looking, Selena said as she looked at the 2 drones flying away with amazed eyes. I know. That is what they are supposed to do, look as real as possible, Bruce said as he switched on the live footage of his drones on his computer's multiple screens. What do you want to see, Kitty? The combat drones can fly at the speed of 250 kilometers per hour, while the bat drones can reach 150 kilometers at top speed. Their range also extends to about 50 kilometers in radius. So we can see everything everywhere in the entire city through these drones. Bruce proudly boasted about his creations. How about we visit Vicky and Helena's homes then? I think we can scare them with the bat drones. Selena said with an evil smile on her face, which Bruce gladly returned. Good idea, Kitty. Why didn't I think of that? I can even make it seem like they are being haunted by invisible ghosts. Bruce said as he ordered Cortana to do it. Cortana followed his orders, while seriously questioning both Bruce's and Selena's maturity in her mind. Even she didn't expect her maker and friend to use state-of-the-art technology that governments would go to war for as pranking tools. As one of the combat drones and bat drones reached each of the two girls' homes, Bruce got ready for pranking them. The plan was simple. He was going to speak through the drones and scare them using weird, scary noises. He might even use a drone to knock over things in their rooms if they didn't get scared easily. Come on, what are you waiting for? Let's scare them. Selena said excitedly. You heard her, Cortana. Let's start Operation Boogeyman. Select Helena as the first target. Bruce said, using the first random name that came into his mind to name this prank. The bat drone silently entered Helena's mansion through one of the open windows and began to search for her room. Soon, it found a room with a half-open pink door looking like it belonged to a small girl or kid. The bat drone went towards the room slowly under Bruce's instructions, expecting the room to either belong to Helena or one of her siblings. Cortana made sure to fly the drone as silently and steadily as possible, so as not to alert the people inside the room of the upcoming prank. However, the moment the full view of the room appeared on the computer screen, a bone-chilling scene suddenly became visible. The bodies of two children were lying on the floor with blood flowing from their corpses, dyeing the entire carpet red. The little children had been shot by someone in cold blood. Br Bruce, is that, are those dead bodies? Selena said, verbally stumbling in fear. She had seen a lot of suffering in the streets and the orphanage, but this was the first time she saw someone lying dead like that in their own home. Kitty, go to your room, Bruce said with a stern tone after controlling his shock at the unexpected sight of the gruesome scene. He didn't want to let Selena see everything here and ruin her innocence so soon, even though he doubted if any child in Gotham ever truly had an innocent childhood. No, I want to watch. I want to find Helena and make sure that she is okay, Selena said with tears in her eyes while holding Bruce's hands, begging him to let her stay here with him. Fine. But first, call Alfred to inform him about this and tell him to contact the cops as soon as possible. He should have already dropped Vicky at her home by now and should be on his way here. Bruce ordered her with a tone that meant no nonsense. Can't we ask him to go to Helena's home first and try to find her? It would be quicker than the cops, Selena said in a frustrated voice. No. Alfred is just one man. This is probably the work of either a criminal gang or an experienced serial killer. Sending Alfred there alone would be jeopardizing his life. I doubt he even took his gun with him. So just tell him to call the cops, particularly James Gordon, and tell him that we received the information from an anonymous source about the crime, and then order him to come straight home, Bruce instructed. Normally the excuse of receiving information from an anonymous source doesn't work in front of most cops as they insist on knowing who the anonymous source is, but Alfred worked for the Wayne family, and that alone would make his words 100 times more credible and believable than anyone else's. No cop would be stupid enough to try to force Alfred on revealing how he got the information about the crime even before the cops did. Oh, okay, Selena said as she quickly went to the main manor to ring up Alfred from the mansion's landline. Truthfully, Bruce could have done the same from the cave itself, since not only did his bat tool also function as a phone, but also Cortana herself could make the call. But Bruce sent away Selena because he didn't want her to see the rest of the bloody scene in Helena's house. He didn't want her to see the dead body of one of her friends, since he didn't know if Helena was even alive at this point. But most of all, he didn't want Selena to see what he was gonna do if he found the ones who did this. Cortana released the spiders, Bruce instructed with a cold expression. As soon as he said it, the stomach of one of the bat drones opened slightly, and about a dozen tiny crystal-like objects dropped from it, which soon began to move and morph into shapes of spiders. They even began to crawl on the walls, just like normal spiders would. Generation 1 spider drones released. Cortana followed his order without any question or delay. Even she sounded somewhat cold right now, maybe because she too was angry that one of her newest friends might have been murdered in cold blood along with her family, and she wasn't able to do anything to save her. As soon as she said it, a dozen more live feeds became visible on the screens showing the same room from different angles. Spread them all over the mansion. Try to find out if anyone is still alive. Also, call the other bat drone inside and release its spiders as well. And station the combat drones outside the mansion. Be ready for heavy battle in case anything goes wrong. Bruce said with determination. He didn't know if Helena or any of her family members was still alive or not. But he swore that he wouldn't allow any criminal to escape alive from this mansion today, no matter what. Criminals who can kill children are the worst type of criminals, and one of the very few ones who don't deserve the least bit of mercy. Multiple heat and sound signatures detected. Cortana suddenly announced as one of the feeds became slightly enlarged on the screen, and two burly figures became visible shooting another smaller figure. Okay, that's the last maid. Sigh, I tell you, these Bertinellis have too much household help. Even Mr. Galanti doesn't have these many servants. He should have given us an assault rifle to kill all of them instead of just pistols. The first man said. Yeah, I agree. I had to use 3 rounds of ammunition to kill everyone. We were lucky that Santo was able to convince the Bertinelli slut to open the doors at the back, or this hit would have been impossible. I still remember the expression on Franco Bertinelli's face when he learned that he was not just dying but was dying as a cuckold. The other man broke out in laughter, which the first man also joined. Anybody else? Bruce asked after hearing out their conversation. There are also 2 more men in another room, which seems to be most probably the master bedroom of the mansion, where Mr. and Mrs. Bertinelli slept. They are currently searching for something in one of their safes. Everyone else in the mansion is either already dead or in critical condition and cannot be saved in time. The drones still haven't found Helena's body anywhere. However, there is a small mild heat signature under one of the tables in the dining room. It might be a small child or a pet of some kind. Cortana answered him dutifully. Send one of the bat drones to the area and check if it is Helena right now, Bruce commanded. BD-002 is already on its way to the dining room, Cortana said as another screen became highlighted on the computer where the camera recording the feed seemed to move at rapid speeds through the mansion, soon reaching an extremely long old-fashioned table normally seen in old movies about crime families. As the bat drone wiggled to go under the table, a small silently weeping figure was seen on the screen, much to Bruce's relief and increasing anger. Switch on the microphone. Helena, can you hear me? If you can hear me, please just nod your head. Bruce whispered after the sign of the microphone activated. He was whispering because he didn't want to take any chances and attract the attention of one of the gang members. Immediately Helena was surprised and looked around trying to find where the voice of her friend, which she easily recognized, was coming from. Not finding anyone nearby, she just fearfully nodded her head, hoping that Bruce would be able to see her. Good. Now listen to me very carefully, Helena. The cops are on their way to save you. The bat-shaped drone near you is the machine through which I am talking to you. It will protect you until help arrives. So just sit back and wait patiently. I'll be here with you the entire time, Bruce said to make her relax. Okay, Helena whispered between silent sobs after she noticed the bat drone sitting near her. She was using her hands to forcefully close her own mouth and make sure that she didn't make any sobbing sounds that would attract the gangsters. After seeing her terrified and sad face, Bruce was angry. No, he was beyond angry. Before this, he still wasn't sure if he wanted to go into the entire saving people and punishing criminals business, but now he knew what he wanted to do. He wanted to get rid of the useless filth that dirted this world, that hurt the truly good and innocent people like Helena. And he would start all that today with the people of this mansion. He would not only become what Bruce Wayne was meant to become, but even more. He would be vengeance, the purest and most brutal of its kind. Cortana, lock targets on all 4 gang members and then use Spider BYT on them, Bruce ordered after a slight second of deliberation. Are you sure, Bruce? Cortana unexpectedly asked for confirmation this time. She knew the negative effects this single command of her maker could bring on his young mind. I said do it, Bruce said, determined. He was doing this for 2 reasons. One was out of raw spite and hatred against these criminals for killing innocent people and, most of all, little children. But the other primary reason was to protect Helena. The cops still hadn't arrived, and he didn't want to bet on the possibility that none of the gang members would find her within that time frame. Command confirmed, Cortana replied with a low-cast voice. As soon as she said it, the spider drones nearest to the gang members quickly moved towards them, crawling with absolute silence, making sure that they could not be seen or heard by the targets. They moved like little assassins, climbing up on the gang members towards the areas on their bodies which were not covered by any clothes. As soon as all of them had reached their target areas, small syringes stuck out of their mouths and pierced into the skin of the gang members as they injected a small solution inside them within a millisecond. The gang members only felt a small slight prick and didn't even react much. They just tried to itch the area where they had been bit. thinking that they were just bitten by a small mosquito, but the spiders were long gone by now. They had retreated to safety the moment the solution was injected into their targets' bodies. Now, Bruce just waited for the effect. For a few seconds, everything was normal, but soon the gang members began sweating. They didn't realize that something was wrong with them and just continued their search and looting, thinking everything was going their way. But the truth couldn't be more different. What they were experiencing while sweating crazily like pigs was a small toxin of Bruce's own design. A very easily made for him solution of electrolytes in their bloodstream, which right now was affecting their physiologies, dehydrating their entire bodies at a marvelous rate, shriveling their organs, and making their bodies nothing more than just dusty, withered remains of their previous selves. Bruce had made this poison for all beings with humanoid physiologies who survive on water. Once this poison enters their bloodstream, then no matter if it's a human, Atlantean, Amazonian, or any other water-consuming race whose body's major parts were composed of water, they will die as a mummy without any chance of survival. Intake of more water to balance the dehydration would just be uselessly prolonging their suffering. Similarly to its intended effect, the men too tried to search for water to satiate their increasing thirst, but 3 of them died even before they could get close to any source of water, while the 4th, even after continuously consuming glass after glass of water from the kitchen sink, still died after his body could no longer keep up with the continuous dehydration. And all this happened within just a single minute after injecting the toxin in them. I guess Spider BYT is another huge success. It will be useful for low-key assassinations in the future. Bruce had a cold smile on his lips. One of the combat drones seems to have found another one of the gang members near the back door of the mansion. It looks like he is guarding their escape car, Cortana said as the camera view of the shriveled-up dead bodies changed to an image of a man smoking while standing with his back against the door of a black-colored car. Lock target on him and use low-pulse sonic turret, Bruce commanded. Under Bruce's orders, a barrel peeked out from one of the combat drones and targeted the smoking man's direction. After a 3-second charge, it began to fire a continuous pulse of sonic sound, so strong that it was almost visible to the naked eye. It was another weapon that Bruce had installed in his combat drones for not only dealing damage to physical objects and humans, but also beings that were way more durable than humans but had a superhuman sense of hearing. It could fire pulses of sonic sounds at a wide range of frequencies that could crack crystals, metals, bulletproof glass, and even liquefy people's brains like the unfortunate smoking man who was its first field target. Within just 5 seconds of continuous firing, dark red-colored liquid began to leak from the man's ears, eyes, nose, and mouth, signifying that whatever limited amount of brain the man had was now slowly leaking out of him like water. Even the glass and mirrors of the car behind him had all cracked under the pulse's devastating effect. Cortana, note that the pulse guns need to be further modified. Its effect is too slow. We need to either recalibrate the frequencies to fasten the rate of damage or increase the strength of the pulses to maximize the effect, Bruce said with a neutral, expressionless tone. Are you okay, Bruce? Cortana asked with worry in her voice. Yeah, of course I am. Why wouldn't I be? I just cleaned up some garbage from the planet and made it a slightly better place than it was before, Bruce said, not changing his emotionless tone. Truthfully, he didn't know what he was feeling. He had watched the deaths of every one of the gang members with utmost focus. He wanted to see what he felt after seeing their deaths, knowing that he was the one who decided their deaths. He was the one who gave the order for them to die, and he was the one who decided if the trigger should be pulled or not. But he didn't feel anything. A small feeling of guilt had risen up in his stomach, but it disappeared as soon as it rose up. In fact, he felt somewhat glad and happy and proud of himself for protecting his friend and punishing evil. Maybe that's why the original Batman never killed. Because he knew he would feel the same way I do, and that he would never be able to stop killing again. Bruce wondered to himself. But he stopped thinking about stupid stuff like that. He had a friend to console right now, and by the sound of footsteps, it also seems that Kitty was also coming back. He would be conducting his research on his feelings and psyche later. For now, it was time to be a good friend. It was his duty, not just as Bruce but as a man, to put the happiness of others close to him before himself. James Gordon POV. Who else do you think did this? Harvey shouted at me while holding his cross tight in his palms. Whoever it wasn't a mummy, Harvey. This is not a horror film. Mummies do not exist in real life, just like aliens or ghosts or demons or any other made-up stuff you see in movies. We cannot just conclude the case by saying that the crime was done by mummies. I felt a headache coming my way. It seemed like the world itself didn't want me to rest. Just when I was thinking of going on a vacation with my daughter, I'll have to deal with a high-profile case once again. After the entire thing with the Waynes, crime has almost tripled in Gotham. It was like everybody is trying to screw everybody. Then what do you call this? Those 4 bodies in there were withered like mummies. I am telling you, either an Egyptian mummy has gotten loose from the museum, or the family threw some curse at the gang members or something before they died. Harvey said as he continued to rub his cross in frustration. Sir, we found another body at the back. It looked like the man was staying close to his car as a quick getaway plan. His cause of death seems to be a goopy brain. A young cop approached the 2 senior detectives and reported with a straight face. Excuse me, I said, looking at the rookie with one of my brows raised. If this was a joke, I wasn't appreciating it. The man doesn't have a brain anymore. Most of his brain seems to have liquefied and leaked through his orifices. We will know more once we send the body for post-mortem, the younger cop said with a slightly disgusted face. Seems I was right. This is a curse after all. I knew I should have listened to my mother and taken that firefighter job. At least I wouldn't have to fight goddamn mummies. Harvey said, looking like he wanted to shoot himself. Okay, first, this was not done by a mummy. And second, there is no curse, just a very smart person who either wanted to send a message or is just trying to hide how he committed the murders. I said, looking at Harvey. This was one of the weirdest murders I have ever seen in my life. It isn't that I haven't seen dehydrated bodies before, but normal bodies take weeks to dehydrate like that, and also they are not nearly as intact as these are. The Bertinelli family is a very famous crime family in the Gotham underworld. Those 4 gang members are most probably from a rival gang who came here to kill the Bertinellis and steal whatever wealth they could get their hands on. It's a classic tale of the cruel and competitive underworld. But what changed this simple case was how every gang member included in the crime was killed by weird, unexplainable methods. What about the survivor? Did she say something? I asked the younger cop with some hope. No, she hadn't said anything. She is still in shock. We tried to ask her some questions without trying to further worsen her condition, but she isn't even paying attention to us. She just ignores us and stares at the void with tears in her eyes. The young cop said as he signaled towards an ambulance parked a little further from where we were standing. I see. I didn't expect her to know anything about it anyways. She was hiding under a table when we came. I doubt if she wasn't hiding from the very beginning. Those monsters would have even let her live. I said as my fists tightened on their own as I remembered the 2 little young bodies lying in a pool of blood. I told you, Gordon. Gotham is a shithole full of people who love shitting and then throwing their shit at others. What happened here today is almost a daily occurrence in the city, except for the part about the weird deaths. You should stop caring if you want to truly live your life without depression, because justice in Gotham is the same as a rose growing in a shithole. Harvey smirked somewhat sadly at his own words. Yeah, but I am still gonna try. Whether it's the person who killed those criminals today or the gang who ordered the hit, I am at least going to find out the reason why an innocent child became an orphan today. I said, determined, as I went towards the ambulance. Getting close to the ambulance, I saw a small girl a few years older than Barbara sitting with a towel wrapped up around her for warmth and comfort while shedding silent tears from her eyes. Your name is Helena, right? Are you okay? I tried to start a conversation, but the girl didn't respond in any way. She just kept silently crying while ignoring me. Look, Helena, I am sorry for your loss. I know I probably won't understand your pain, but I want to help you. I promise you that you are safe now. We have already contacted your uncle, since he is your closest living relative. He will be coming from Europe to meet you. Bruce Wayne has also contacted us. He said that you can stay with him till your uncle reaches Gotham. You will be safe with him. But before that, I have to do my duty and ask if you know anything about this incident. Did you hear or see anything while this was happening? Anything out of the ordinary at all? I asked while mentally swearing at myself for even trying to interrogate a young victim like her. No. They entered through the back door when most of my family had gone to sleep, and began to shoot everybody. I was eating at that time because I had arrived late from Bruce's house after we played Dungeons and Dragons all evening. When we heard shooting, one of the maids in the room told me to hide under the table while she checks out what was going on. But Helena could no longer continue and broke out in tears. It's okay. I understand. Thank you for your cooperation. Sit tight, I think your friends would be coming soon to pick you up. I said as I turned around, but stopped after just taking a single step. By the way, did you or any of your family members contact Alfred or Bruce by any chance? Because they were the first ones who knew about this and informed the cops. You wouldn't happen to know how they knew about this, right? I asked, wondering if they had any connection with this case. Helena was silent. From her sad, tear-stricken face, it looked like she was thinking about something. Helena, do you know anything about this, anything at all? If you do, you should tell me. Any clue could be a big help in solving the mystery of why, how, or who did this. I asked again. No, I don't, Helena said after a while. I see. But don't worry, I'll still try my best to find out who did this. And when I do, I'll bring them to justice, whoever they are. I said with determination in my voice. Detective, please try to find out more about the people who killed my family, and not the people who avenged them by killing those criminals and saving me in the process. The girl said with a certain coldness in her young voice, just when I was turning around to leave. Okay, miss. We will do our best. I say, not blaming the girl for her rudeness. If I was in her place, I would have been much ruder than her. I understand what and how victims of such crimes think. So, I decided to just leave her alone for some time until the Waynes get here. This city truly is going to hell. I mutter in my mind as I went to a quiet corner and lighted my first cigarette in months. I have tried to quit for a while now after Barbara was born and succeeded too, but it's times and crimes like these when I need them to continue to function properly and do my duty despite the massive frustration that whispers in my mind to just kill every criminal and gang member and be done with it. While thinking all this, I suddenly felt a gaze on me as I looked around, but didn't see anyone near me. But then I noticed a bat hanging upside down from the roof of a nearby house looking straight at me with its menacing red eyes. A bat? Well, I did hear there have been reports of too many bats in Gotham now. I guess darkness always invites the bats, huh? Helena, I can't believe you're leaving. It won't be the same without you, Vicky said as she rushed forward and enveloped Helena in a tight hug. I'll miss you too, Vicky. You were a good friend. Helena hugged her back. Bruce, Vicky, Selena, and Alfred had come to drop Helena and her uncle at the airport. The bustling airport was filled with travelers hurrying to catch their flights. Among them, Helena stood with watery eyes at the entrance, her little suitcase beside her, as Bruce, Selena, and Vicky were standing before her, unwilling to let their friend go while Alfred was having a conversation with her uncle. Those two had also become good friends due to both their tempers being similar. They were both gentlemen. The very air seemed heavy with a mixture of sadness and gloom. Helena, we want you to know that we'll always be here for you, no matter the distance. You will always have a friend in us, Bruce said as he stepped forward, his voice filled with determination. Bruce had wanted to be selfish and just keep Helena with him in Gotham. He had enough money to look after her, but the question was, could he really keep her safe? In a world where Kryptonians could not keep their own wife and unborn baby safe, what chance did he have at this stage, when he was just a child? Maybe in the future, he would be powerful enough to not care about minor gangs and silly psychos with retarded senses of fashion, but right now, he couldn't do that. He couldn't be selfish. No matter how much he just wanted to say piss off to the plot in this world and keep Helena with her, he couldn't do it, at least not when he was still so weak. Absolutely, Helena. We'll call each other every day and keep you updated on everything happening here. You won't be alone. Selena nodded at Bruce's words, her eyes shining with sincerity. And we'll plan all the adventures we'll have when you come back. The three of us together again. Vicky chimed in, her voice filled with anticipation. That sounds amazing, Vicky. I'll look forward to that, Helena said with a small smile. Remember, Helena, we'll always be just a phone call away. And if you ever need anything at all, don't hesitate to reach out, Bruce said as he took Helena's hand, offering support and comfort. Helena, the flight's on time. We have to go or we will miss it. We have to say our final goodbyes for now, Helena's uncle said as he lightly placed his hand on her shoulder. Yeah. Helena's eyes were filled with tears. She had already lost her entire family in one fell swoop. She didn't want to let go of her friends so soon as well. But it's not goodbye forever, Helena. We'll see each other again. We promise, Vicky said as she was pulled in for a hug by Helena along with the rest of the gang. It was a weird sensation for Bruce. This was his first time in a group hug. But he liked it. It felt like home, it felt like family. Thank you, guys. You've made this a lot easier for me to bear, Helena said as she wiped away her tears. She then proceeded to give Bruce one final hug before leaving. "Thank you for everything that you did for me. I promise that I will always keep your secret and that I will pay you back one day." "Thank you," she whispered. Bruce didn't understand if she was talking about him saving her life or him letting her stay at his home for the last 3 days or him killing the ones who killed her family. But he didn't care even if she did tell people. It was not that he blindly trusted her or anything. It was simply because nobody would believe her. An 8-year-old orphan boy invented a state-of-the-art high-tech drone that is more advanced technology than anything currently on Earth, and he used it to save his friend and kill her family's gangster murderers using a home-developed artificial poison that kills people by making the mummies. Yeah, best of luck in making the cops and the press believe that. What I did wasn't a favor. What I did was simply to help one of my best friends. And thank you for being my friend, Helena. Take care of yourself." Bruce smiled at him. "Goodbye, my dear Gotham Knights. Until we meet again," Helena said with a smile as she with a heavy but hopeful heart went into the airport with her uncle, slowly disappearing into the crowd. For some time after the two left, Bruce just stood there in silence, thinking about something, wondering if it was a coincidence that Helena had called them the Gotham Knights before leaving or did the universe itself wanted to tell him something. "She'll be all right, won't she? We'll make sure she is," Vicky said worriedly. "Yeah. Helena is strong, and we'll be there for her every step of the way. We will support her from here as much as we can," Selena said while wiping her residual tears. "She will be all right. She is our friend after all. And as for her safety, I pray for anyone who tries to ever do anything to her." Bruce gave a small smile whose meaning none of the people standing near him understood. Only he knew what he meant. Only he knew that before Helena left, he had given her a little farewell gift. He had given her his favorite and greatest creation till now, a bat tool. The entire last week, he had made one specifically for her. A slightly different version of the bat tool he made for himself. This one leaned towards protection and defense more than versatile tools. He was sure that if Helena could one day master it, then she could even defeat a lot of dangerous metahumans out there. Of course, he made sure to include more security features to make sure that it doesn't fall into the hands of some evil genius. But the best thing about her particular version of the bat tool was that it could even change its appearance into a girl's purse, making it blend into a normal environment and easily pass through any scanner. "Let's go. It's getting late," Bruce said after some time of silently standing in front of the airport. He had already noticed a couple of people pointing at him and whispering. He knew it would not be long before this place is completely swarmed by reporters. So with heavy hearts, the trio along with Alfred, who also looked somewhat down, went towards their car. It was time for them to return to their normal lives again. "Master Bruce, here's your snacks and the documents you requested. The folder contains all the information about the 3 companies that we acquired recently, as well as the smaller companies that you wanted to invest in through the Foundation. I have also started making deals for the filming rights of various books and comics that you told me under Wayne Entertainment," Alfred said as he placed a tray of food and a thick folder on the table. "Oh goody. Continue buying the filming rights of all the literary works I mentioned. I'll make sure to prepare a couple of dozen songs as well as some TV and movie scripts. Making the other 2 companies succeed will be easy due to my skills, but the entertainment company would have to be handled very delicately." Bruce nodded as he continued working on a weird-looking helmet. Bruce had plans for his technology company. Making money through it would be the easiest, since all he had to do was just release a few of his designs to the public every year as products, and voila. His company would be the most advanced and famous technology company in the world. Even companies like Apple or Tesla would be nothing in front of Wayne Technologies. Same with Wayne Capital. Cortana was already making various AI programs for doing successful short trades in the share market to make quick money, as well as shortlisting ventures and startups that had the most chances of succeeding using countless real-world simulations. That, coupled with the knowledge from Bruce's previous world, would almost make it a certainty that Wayne Capital would succeed and would soon become the biggest investment company in the world. But Wayne's Entertainment was different. Bruce could easily make it one of the biggest entertainment companies as well by making all the movies and shows he knew from his previous life, but he didn't have enough time to start writing scripts to make. He would earn and profit way more by using his time to make state-of-the-art technologies than by writing manga, comics, or movie scripts. All he could do was buy some franchisees that he knew would succeed in the future, hire the best directors and producers, and make sure that the shows or movies have a decent storyline. But that was it. He was mostly pinning his hope on Cortana, who had supposedly cracked the formula for making hit storylines. According to her, she had analyzed thousands of successful stories, and she used that information to develop a formula that she could apply to effortlessly influence people through her stories and make sure that every one of her scripts succeeds as a film or show as long as it's made well. Truthfully, Bruce doubted that because he knew how varied the human race was and how their opinions differed. So he was going to do what he could do and develop some high-tech machines and programs as well through Wayne Technologies to make visual and audio effects in movies 100 times better than what was possible in this era. That would be the defining point of how the products of his studio would be different from the others. In reality, he could even make an entire movie at his home, simulating everything through his computer with the help of Cortana without any need for shooting in the first place, but that would raise too many questions like who are the actors in the movie or where and when was it shot, stuff like that. So he was just going to provide as much help as he can to his studio's employees for them to make their best stuff for the people to see and enjoy. Perhaps I could start the Marvel franchisee here. I already checked Marvel doesn't exist in this world for some reason, so it could potentially make me a lot of money, but if this multiverse is somehow connected to Marvel for some reason, then it could create a lot of chaos. Bruce thought to himself. Sure, Master Bruce. Also, I know a certain person in Wayne Enterprises who might further help us in our business dealings, since I am not really that bright in running a business, and you young master need a business mentor to learn how to successfully run a business empire. Alfred said. Bruce was sure he didn't need a mentor, since he didn't intend to actually run the business himself. He just wanted to successfully grow his business big and powerful enough for him to never get into money problems. He even had plans to just sit back and enjoy his money rolling in, after all his companies are big and strong enough. But he didn't say that to Alfred. Alfred had really big expectations of him, and he didn't want to break his hopes so soon. Sure, Alfred. Who is this mentor that even you look up to? Bruce asked, trying to show some curiosity. Lucius Fox. He is one of the board members of Wayne Enterprises, one of the very few who is still loyal to the Wayne family and supports your claim on the company. He couldn't attend the funeral because he was more or less broken after your parents' deaths since they were best friends. But I am sure that if you ask him to join your new company, he would do it in a heartbeat. Alfred said with a sad look on his face, probably having some flashbacks about Bruce's parents and Lucius. Fine. Then request him to join Wayne Solutions. By the way, that's the name I have decided to name the holding company. The 3 subsidiaries as well as all the companies I would acquire or start personally in the future would be under it. I don't have enough time to be the acting CEO anyway, and will be taking up the chairman position, so maybe he could make for a good CEO. Bruce made his intentions clear. He had even thought he could merge Wayne Solutions with Wayne Enterprises later down the line when he becomes an adult. He was sure that the moment he turned 18 would be the end of most of the members of the board of directors in his company. He was going to make sure that he not only took back control of Wayne Enterprises, but also ruin the lives of everyone who opposed him. Alfred looked like he was a little displeased with Bruce's decision and wanted to say something, but he ultimately didn't. Perhaps he remembered that despite Bruce's maturity and high intellect, he was still an 8-year-old kid, and 8-year-old kids don't really make very intimidating CEOs. So perhaps making Lucius Fox the CEO would be a good move. Fine, I'll inform him then. It is extremely important that this new venture of yours succeeds, Master Bruce. That would win us the trust of the general public shareholders and make it much easier to take control of Wayne Enterprises in the future when you turn into an adult, even if the board still opposes us. Alfred said with an air of seriousness. Don't worry, Alfred. Bruce Wayne doesn't fail. He might get slowed down, but he never fails. Bruce smiled while feeling a little weird for talking about himself in the third person. Maybe it wasn't that easy being Bruce Wayne after all. He thought. Oh, and your new combat teacher contacted me. He said that he would be coming tomorrow to start your training. Although he has certain conditions before he starts teaching you. He will only train you if you agree to them. But make sure they are not anything too extreme, Master Bruce. You never know with people noways. Lots of weirdos out there. Alfred said with a frown, like he was imagining Richard Dragon as a pedophile. I am sure his conditions won't be too extreme, Alfred. And if they are, we can always just get another teacher. Anyways, what about the other person I told you about? Did you find anything about him? Bruce asked. You mean Slade Wilson? Yeah, I did. He is currently posted as a soldier in Iraq. Alfred revealed. Oh, that's a bummer. I was thinking about hiring him to be my armed combat trainer. I guess I can do it after he retires. Bruce showed a sad expression, but inside he knew it would not be long before Slade Wilson stops working for the military to become a hitman. The best goddamn hitman out there. And that would be the moment when Bruce would snatch him up to be his trainer. He was sure someone like Slade would never say no to a couple of $1 million when offered nicely.
And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going, plus it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.